The blood-colored ancient castle was the largest comparatively preserved trial region in the Immemorial Path's eastern region. It was different from the 10,000 Beast Forest. The 10,000 Beast Forest had just been a primordial forest. The blood-colored ancient castle was millions of miles long. It was a shocking, practically endless construction. The entire castle was the exact same color as fresh blood. Originally, this castle had been built so grandly that it soared into the clouds. But that majestic and towering scene was gone. It was now a pile of ruins filled with an air of decay and dejection. There were two righteous experts carefully advancing at the edge of the castle, searching the ruins. Although countless years had passed, although countless people had explored it, the number of people that had been able to reach its core region was pitifully low. Furthermore, the castle was so large that no one would dare to say that they had finished exploring the outer region. Suddenly, a cracking sound rang out that caused the two of them to shoot back. But then they saw that a blood-colored rock had simply shattered. They sighed with relief. This ancient castle was filled with a strange aura, one that made people's hairs stand on end. Whoever entered it would feel on edge. "Senior apprentice brother, maybe we should leave. This place is too bizarre. I always feel like there's a chilling breeze behind me and like my heart is about to leap out of my chest," said the younger expert. He didn't want to go any deeper. "Fuck, it really is bizarre. When we entered, it was still so sunny outside. But now it's so gloomy and sinister. You're right, this place is too evil and unnatural. Let's go somewhere else to test our luck." The slightly older one had just finished speaking when he looked back at his fellow disciple. When he saw him, his face instantly turned pale with terror. "What is it, Senior Dash?" A black figure suddenly pierced through his back. The disciple was horrified and was just about to struggle when his whole body withered, becoming a desiccated corpse. He didn't even have a chance to resist. A black figure merged back with the earth, as if it had never existed at all. The only sign of its existence was that withered corpse. The slightly older disciple was terrified. Without even thinking about it, he slashed his sword behind him and then turned to flee. His sword didn't strike anything. Or perhaps it could be said that it struck something, but that something was nothing more than a shadow. His sword went through the shadow without affecting it at all. The shadow grew out of the ground like a tree root, and it suddenly released a thorn that shot toward him. He tried to dodge, but he suddenly found that his legs were both bound by the shadow. No dash. His miserable scream was cut short as all his blood chi flowed into the shadow and was absorbed. In just a single breath, he was turned into a withered corpse. He collapsed on the ground, looking like a block of dried-up wood. Once that shadow had absorbed his blood chi, it returned to the ground. But suddenly, a ray of light shot over and directly cut it in two. Blood surprisingly splashed out of it. The shadow was cut in two and disappeared as if it had returned to the ground. Two new figures appeared in the ruins. One looked like he was heroic and bold, while one was a veiled woman. They were Long Chen and Yu Shaoqian. "Shaoqian, what do you think?" Long Chen looked at the blood and corpses on the ground. He frowned as he had never seen such a thing before today. On the way, they had also seen quite a few withered corpses. "They should be shadow ghouls," said Yu Shaoqian. Seeing his blank stare, she explained, "Shadow ghouls are a member of the ghost race. They form when a person dies, but their soul doesn't completely dissipate. It forms a special kind of life form." "There really are ghosts in this world?" Long Chen was startled. He had always thought they were just stories to frighten people. "The ghosts you're talking about are just some things that people made up. The ghosts that I'm talking about are a kind of life energy. In truth, there are many life forms in this world that we can't come into contact with. To put it another way, they should be in a parallel space next to ours, making it so we can never come into contact with them. But there are always people who like to break conventions and do a few heretical things. When dimensional walls are broken, a few things from other worlds will flow into ours. Originally, such things shouldn't be able to exist within our world. Special conditions need to be met in order for them to survive. For example, these shadow ghosts shouldn't exist in our world. But they are here. That means someone intentionally drew them here and intentionally set up the environment so they could survive. Drawing over existences from other worlds is no different than playing with fire. If it has no natural predators in its new environment, it would have the potential to destroy the entire world. As soon as I entered this castle, I sensed an unusual aura. This aura isn't something suitable to human cultivators. If my guess isn't wrong, the blood-colored ancient castle must have caught ghosts from other worlds as trials for their disciples, said Yu Shaoqian. Long Chen nodded. This guess of hers was extremely likely. Even if it wasn't correct, it shouldn't be that far from the truth. Because the castle had crumbled, these ghosts had become free of all laws. They actually took the initiative to kill people. Do they get anything from killing people? Asked Long Chen. A human's essence blood is a delicacy to them. Although absorbing essence blood doesn't let them grow, they still find it delightful, said Yu Shaoqian. Isn't it said that ghosts fear sunlight? How could they kill people in broad daylight? Asked Long Chen. Ghosts do fear the yang. Sunlight is something they dislike, but the formations here weaken the sunlight. Furthermore, they weren't completely exposed to the sunlight, so they were naturally unafraid of it. In truth, these shadow ghouls aren't powerful. Anyone with powerful spiritual strength would be able to easily sense them. That's why they target those with weak souls, and attacks against them must contain soul energy in order to harm their incorporeal bodies. That's because soul energy is also a kind of incorporeal energy, said Yu Shaoqian. Long Chen gave her a thumbs up. As expected, she was truly knowledgeable about all things. Having Yu Shaoqian by his side felt amazing. Hee, thank you for your praise, said Yu Shaoqian happily. When it came to theoretical knowledge, she was extremely amazing. But she didn't have the slightest bit of experience. Long Chen was the opposite. As long as he learned the theory, he could use it in practice. Yu Shaoqian held Long Chen's arm as they slowly went deeper into the castle. It didn't seem at all like they were trying to pass trials. It was more like two sweethearts were strolling down the streets. It was just as Yu Shaoqian said. Long Chen could sense that he was being stared at occasionally, but those things all left in the end. Yu Shaoqian told him that shadow ghouls were very crafty and sensitive to danger. Once they sensed that their prey's spiritual strength was too strong, they wouldn't dare to come over. A shadow ghoul's attack could be classified as a spiritual attack. If someone possessed a protective soul item, they also wouldn't attack. This place is so terrifying. Just what kind of attack could turn it into this state? Wondered Yu Shaoqian as she looked at a construction in front of them. That was a huge tower. It had already been broken in several places and fallen on the ground. But even those broken segments were taller than mountains. In its broken state, this tower looked like a huge mountain range. Half the tower was buried, and there were some scars on the land that seemed like they had been caused when it had collapsed. Let's go in and take a look. Long Chen and Yu Shaoqian entered. They found that it was filled with spider webs and flying bats. It was extremely dark, but they were able to see everything clearly with their excellent vision. There's nothing valuable inside. The secret rooms inside here should have all been destroyed. The runes outside have also lost their effect. Whatever caused the tower to collapse could not have been ordinary. It was definitely caused by some power beyond our current imagination that erased all that runic energy. Yu Shaoqian brushed her hand against the wall. The runes on the wall fell and scattered like sand. Long Chen nodded. It should have been some kind of mysterious energy specialized in targeting runes that caused them to lose their effect. Other than the rune that he had encountered at the entrance of the immemorial path, he hadn't seen any complete runes exposed like that. Runes? That's right, Senior. Do you recognize this rune? Long Chen suddenly asked the Eastern Wasteland Bell, using his spiritual strength to form the image of the rune he had obtained with the Primal Chaos Space's help. I recognize it, but this rune isn't something you can come into contact with right now. You definitely shouldn't study it any further. What disappointed him was that the Eastern Wasteland Bell only said this before going silent. It refused to say how to use the rune, let alone its origin. They explored the tower for a while but didn't find anything useful. They left, continuing onwards. As they continued, Long Chen kept his divine sense spread out. He had already found quite a few hidden places. There were other people moving around in stealth as well, And when they saw Long Chen and Yu Shaoqian holding hands as they leisurely advanced, their expressions became odd. Long Chen laughed inside. The more carefully you advanced, the more people would think you lacked confidence, and the more they would think you were weak. Then you would become their targets. The two of them weren't traveling quickly. After 2 hours, they had only traveled 30 miles. Long Chen had Yu Shaoqian lead the way, while he simply followed. He felt that if she led the way, their luck would be 100 times better than when he led the way. Reality proved he was right. When Long Chen entered similar places on his own, if he didn't run into the attacks of wild beasts, he would be provoked by other experts. But with Yu Shaoqian, everything went smoothly for these 2 hours. Just as Long Chen thought that this method could keep them safe and sound, a huge figure appeared behind them and charged at them. Yu Shaoqian didn't even look. Her sword slashed out behind, cutting the figure in two. It rapidly merged with the ground. The shadow ghouls are getting stronger and stronger, as well as more berserk. Injuring them isn't difficult, but killing them would exhaust quite a bit of soul energy. It's not really worth it, said Yu Shaoqian. Then it's fine. You save your energy. If any shadow ghouls appear, just leave them to me. Long Chen smiled. As expected, they had only gone a few more miles when another figure shot at them from a crack in the ground. A bolt of lightning flew by and struck it, turning it into smoke. That shadow ghoul was killed in one attack. What terrifying thunder force! It even contains an aura of annihilation. That's something only heavenly tribulation lightning could possess. Is your lightning? Yu Shaoqian was shocked. Nothing can be hidden from you. Yes, my thunder force was gathered from tribulation lightning. Long Chen found that Yu Shaoqian was too learned. There was nothing she didn't know. How is that possible? How could a human control heavenly tribulation lightning? Yu Shaoqian still found this hard to believe. Long Chen explained how he had encountered tribulation in his first advancement and onwards. He also told her how he had raised Lei Long. After her initial disbelief, she gradually came to accept this power that was beyond her understanding. This was her first time hearing that someone could control heavenly tribulation lightning. The two of them continued. More and more shadow ghouls appeared, and each time, they would be killed in one shot by the pointing of Long Chen's finger. They saw quite a few more corpses on the way. They had all been killed by shadow ghouls. These shadow ghouls were also getting stronger. But no matter how strong the shadow ghouls became, they were still weeds in front of Long Chen. His thunder force was their bane. There's an opening below. Let's go take a look. Yu Shaoqian pointed downwards. Long Chen looked and saw that the huge wall was concealing the fact that there was an opening here. Yu Shaoqian was just about to slash the wall apart when Long Chen stopped her. He simply grabbed and lifted it. The huge wall that was millions of pounds was easily lifted. We should do our best not to leave any marks, or others will find us. This entrance was an underground entrance to some construction. Long Chen replaced the wall so that everything looked normal. That way it wouldn't be likely for others to follow them. Do you want to go in front, or should I? Asked Yu Shaoqian. You should stay in front. This place is too dark, so I'll activate my thunder force. Long Chen became covered in violet lightning. Those were his lightning runes. It was like he was wearing clothes made of lightning, making the underground room as bright as if it were daytime. As they continued onwards, they saw that this passage continued at a slight tilt downwards. They hadn't gotten far before a huge mouse suddenly attacked Long Chen. The mouse's fur ended in black, sharp points that made it look like a porcupine. Its eyes were scarlet, and its long tail was sharp like a blade. Careful. This is a rockthorn mouse and its quills are poisonous, warned Yu Shaoqian. Bang! Long Chen's broadsword slammed into the mouse. But it actually blocked it with its teeth. Sparks flew when they collided. The 3-meter-long mouse slammed into a wall. It let out a strange cry. Suddenly, it raised its tail and swung it at them. The end of its tail opened, and countless needle-like quills flew toward Long Chen. Long Chen's broadsword blocked all of them easily. They were clearly grown out of flesh, but they were harder than metal. Long Chen unsheathed Flying Rainbow. Cold light flashed as that mouse's head was severed. Flying Rainbow was exceptionally sharp, so it was much easier to kill this kind of magical beast with it. Long Chen picked up one of its quills. The quill was 5 inches long and around 200 grams. There were little holes in its tip that were almost impossible to see with the naked eye. Those holes hide its poison. The rockthorn mouse is extremely special. It doesn't have a poison sac. Instead, its quills are what store its poison. Although it's just a 6th-rank magical beast, its poison quills are very sharp and can easily pierce a 7th-rank magical beast's hide. Even if it can't poison a 7th-rank magical beast to death, it can poison it half to death, said Yu Shaoqian. Long Chen's eyes brightened. If it was this strong, then it was something good. Long Chen, what are you doing? I'm gathering all these quills as they are natural weapons for Guoran. I'm sure he'll faint from joy when he sees them, laughed Long Chen as he gathered them. These were the things that Guoran liked the most. As for the rockthorn mouse's corpse, he tossed it into the primal chaos space. But he didn't put it in the black soil yet. He needed to keep a few corpses in reserve for when he was running out of life energy. Then he could use the corpses. Once Yu Shaoqian learned that he had a use for these quills, she helped him. The two of them began a slaughter of the rockthorn mice that lived here. This seemed to be their nest. Long Chen actually killed over 1,000 of them, and he had a mountain of their corpses. Each one of them had over 100 quills on their tails. So now he had over 100,000 of them. Wait a moment. Long Chen, we've entered a different channel now. There are murals here, said Yu Shaoqian. Long Chen looked toward the wall. As expected, there were stone carvings. Long Chen couldn't help being shocked. The carvings from such ancient times were extremely valuable. They might even be able to peer into some secrets of that era. Shaoqian, what does this say? Long Chen saw that whatever was carved was unclear. But there was a large mass of words. Long Chen could occasionally recognize a few characters, but he couldn't comprehend it. This is the introduction of the trial. It clearly indicates Qi Wu. In today's language, it means that a steel body must also be flexible. A strong body has a strong soul. A strong soul has a weak dash, explained Yu Shaoqian. Cough, Shaoqian, could you explain it in simpler terms? Coughed Long Chen. Yu Shaoqian smiled. To put it simpler, this should be a trial for the soul and will. It has high requirements for spiritual strength, so this should be a trial suited to soul cultivators. Only those with strong enough spiritual strength can handle the shadow ghouls here. However, everything has changed now that it's broken down. If this was a trial only for people with powerful souls, those rockthorn mice shouldn't have appeared. Her guess was truly reasonable. If this was a trial of spiritual strength, in other words, a trial for soul cultivators, having soul cultivators face physical attacks was simply murder. Oh, why are the people in this mural so strange? They have a pair of bat-like wings? As the two of them advanced, Long Chen saw a mural that was filled with those strange people. Those aren't people. Those are winged devils, the same as the skeletons we saw in the Julie's secret realm. Do you see that protuberance on their foreheads? That's where their devil core is. They're a mixed existence formed between depraved humans and the devil race. They've inherited the devil race's fierceness and evil desires, while maintaining a portion of the human race's intelligence, sighed Yu Shaoqian. Long Chen was startled. These were members of the devil race? If she hadn't said it, he would have thought they were members of the ancient races. The human race is that strong? They can not only integrate with Xian beasts but also with the devil race? Long Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Yu Shaoqian looked at him helplessly. Humans are the most complicated existence in this world. Their entire existence is a contradiction. They are sometimes kind, sometimes evil, sometimes noble, sometimes depraved, sometimes like a heavenly immortal, sometimes like a demonic devil. Humans are the ones least able to resist temptation, or perhaps it's that their desires have no end. They like to take risks, have no respect for anything, and as a result, the human race has ended up in their current plight. Was the human race very powerful before? Asked Long Chen. Powerful? They couldn't even be described as just powerful. Humans are the spirit of all things. Each human is a spiritual being, their own existence. They possess the pinnacle of the cosmos's truth, the rulers of the world. Regretfully, the current human race's bloodline is no longer pure, and they have fallen to the point of extinction. And yet, they still don't seem aware of it and only know how to fight amongst themselves. Yu Xiaoqian shook her head with pity for the changing of the times. Long Chen wanted to say that this was a good thing. If the human race fought to the point of extinction, there would be no one to make things hard for her original devil race. But then thinking of his own status, he swallowed his words back down. Continuing to examine the murals, he saw that it was a story. Each mural was linked to the next. At the next mural, a large group of humans had appeared and an immense battle was fought between them and the winged devils. It was a miserable battle, with corpses littering the blood-stained ground. The human race was losing miserably, with heavy casualties. Those winged devils had powerful runes on their wings. Although these were just static images, Long Chen could feel just how fast they had to be. Furthermore, their bodies were muscular like bulls. Their flesh bulged with explosive power. They were clearly both powerful and fast. The humans weren't their match. Thinking of Yu Xiaoqian's words, Long Chen couldn't help feeling it was satirical. The human race was the ancestor of the winged devils, but now the winged devils were mercilessly slaughtering them. There were several consecutive murals of the winged devils slaughtering the humans. Towards the end, a group of people appeared. They formed hand seals, and illusory figures appeared behind their bodies. Those figures held blades, swords, towers, bells. From their hand seals, they should be using a kind of soul art. Once that soul art was activated, the bloodthirsty winged devils became immobile, unable to move an inch. The winged devils are afraid of soul arts? Asked Long Chen. Living ones are afraid of soul arts, but dead ones that have revived aren't. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had it so hard back then. Thinking of their previous cooperation against the winged devil skeletons, Yu Xiaoqian smiled in reminiscence. She held Long Chen's arm. What is going on here? Long Chen didn't notice Yu Xiaoqian's gentle movements. Looking at the next mural, he was filled with disbelief. In that mural, the humans had just defeated the winged devils and were celebrating. They had gathered to kowtow in front of a group of people. There were men and women in that group. They were standing in the air, sacred and holy, graceful and grand. The shocking thing was that there was a mark on their foreheads. That mark was indistinct, but Long Chen could see that it was extremely similar to the one that appeared on Yu Xiaoqian when she released her core energy. Even the feeling he got from it was similar. Xiaoqian, are they your original devil race's members? Asked Long Chen. I seem to be able to sense a familiar aura from their bodies, especially from those race marks on their foreheads. Even if they aren't members of the original devil race, they should have a relationship with us. But look, in that era, the human race was so respectful to us, practically worshipping us. If they are really members of the original devil race, how could the original devil race have ended up being the public enemy of the entire world? A lost expression appeared in Yu Xiaoqian's eyes. Even you can't be sure? Yu Xiaoqian shook her head. My mother refuses to let me learn too many secrets. As for the Grand Elders, even they regard the secrets of our ancestors as something that can't be leaked no matter what. They also refuse to say anything. Previously, I told you that any disciple that learns too many secrets will no longer be permitted to leave the skyscraping world. Although I don't know the reason behind it, I'm sure my mother is doing what's best for us. Long Chen nodded. Looking at these people in the scene, countless questions revolved in his head. Supposing these people were from the original devil race, then just what had happened during this time? From the murals, it seemed that the human race had received their help or pointers, which was the only way they had defeated the winged devils. These murals were eulogizing the original devil race's contributions. If these people really were members of the original devil race, if his guess was truly correct, then this riddle was a bit too frightening, wasn't it? From being worshipped like gods, they had become targets to be slaughtered, and even the heavenly Daos refused to accept them. What had happened? Was it something related to the battle back then? Just what kind of history was hidden by that battle? Yu Xiaoqian suddenly slashed her sword, killing a rockthorn mouse that was attacking them and breaking Long Chen's pondering. Alright, Let's not waste too much time thinking about this. Whatever the truth is, it'll be exposed sooner or later. But before we have enough power, learning those secrets has no meaning. Let's keep going. Yu Shaoqian pulled on Long Chen's hand. He nodded and they continued onwards. This underground world was like a maze. They were constantly being attacked by rockthorn mice. After traveling a bit more, Long Chen felt like the spiritual pressure was growing stronger. He suddenly saw that Yu Shaoqian was a bit pale. Shaoqian, what is it? Do you not feel that some illusions are starting to pop up? Yu Shaoqian looked at him with shock. That was because an hour ago, she had started to feel that everything she was seeing was growing distorted. Illusions constantly popped up. Sometimes the ground beneath her feet would become an abyss. Sometimes fierce devils would appear in front of her. Sometimes she would hear a strange sound behind her. From the start, she had known they had entered an illusion formation. But seeing Long Chen easily brushing it off, she hadn't said a word. However, now the illusions were growing stronger, and they were becoming more and more realistic. She was starting to be unable to bear it. Being caught in illusions, a person's spiritual perception would sharply drop. At this time, even if a rockthorn mouse appeared right in front of her, she might not even notice it. That kind of feeling was extremely uneasy. It was like someone with excellent vision had become blind. Illusions? Long Chen's words caused Yu Shaoqian to feel shocked. At this time, the Eastern Wasteland bell rang out in his mind. You're different. You defeated yourself, and a version of yourself that was even stronger than you at that. Your will has reached a kind of pinnacle, and your Tao heart is essentially flawless. The illusions here don't just require powerful spiritual strength to resist. They are targeted toward a person's heart devils, the weaknesses in their hearts. Your will has reached a monstrous level, so this kind of illusion formation cannot shake you. You can't even sense them, but she finds it very taxing here. Long Chen didn't know that this illusion formation was targeted toward a person's heart. The more unsteady a person's Tao heart was, the easier they would be affected. The stronger their heart devils, the greater their fear, the more things they feared would appear here. In the end, they would be lost in this labyrinth. Do you not feel anything at all? Yu Shaoqian felt this was inconceivable. Long Chen smiled and wrapped his arm around her waist. He also released his will. Releasing his will was like releasing his inner aura. That was an unrivaled will, one that could disdainfully look down on gods, the heavens, the earth, and the entire universe. Long Chen would only release it when he fought peak experts. But he now used a kind of self-hypnotism to make it seem like he was facing a powerful expert. This was a kind of formless energy, but it was also substantive. It was mysterious and profound, impossible to describe with words. How did you do this? Yu Shaoqian was shocked. Long Chen didn't hide anything from her. He told her about how he had entered a trial where he had fought against an even stronger version of himself. When Yu Shaoqian heard that, she was appalled. That was something impossible. How could someone possibly defeat a version of themselves that was slightly stronger in every aspect and never tired? Long Chen, why do you have to go all out like this? Asked Yu Shaoqian with a slightly pained expression. Long Chen laughed. If I said I wanted to get stronger to protect you, would you believe it? If that's what you're saying, then I'll believe you, said Yu Shaoqian sincerely. Long Chen couldn't help feeling embarrassed. Originally, he had been teasing her, but as a result, he had checkmated himself. If he really said it now, it would seem too fake. If he didn't say it, she would feel bad. Long Chen still hadn't completely grasped what kind of person Yu Shaoqian was, so he couldn't make random jokes with her like with Tangwana. Oh, what's that? As they were walking, Long Chen suddenly noticed that the fluctuations in the air had disappeared. They had already passed the illusion region and entered a new region. Not far behind them was a faint figure. It was following them, neither quickly nor slowly. That figure was extremely faint. In this pitch-black world, it was almost impossible to notice it. Long Chen had just barely sensed a faint spiritual fluctuation before realizing it was there. Another ghost, said Yu Shaoqian. Ghost? Yes. The so-called ghosts aren't those nonsense things you've heard of. When people die, their souls split into 3 kinds of energy. One is called the Hun, one is called the Pe, and one is called the Kue. The Kue is the purest energy of a person's life. Once a person dies, it will go to the netherworld and be forever separated from this world. The Kue goes to the netherworld, while the Hun and Pe stay in this world. For some people, when they die, they are at peace and don't leave regrets. Their Hun and Pe combined to form a new kind of energy that reincarnates. But because the Kue has gone to the netherworld, this reincarnation won't possess the memories of its previous life. There are also some who are full of hatred and unwillingness when they die. Their Kue goes to the netherworld, but their Hun and Pe separate. Due to the unwillingness and regret within the Hun and Pe, the Hun transforms into a ghost, while the Pe transforms into a fiend. The ghost represents greed, while the ghoul represents bloodthirst and brutality. They're both existences that can't see the light of day, explained Yu Shaoqian. Really? There really is an underworld for the dead? And people can reincarnate? Long Chen was shocked. Those things you've heard are just stories. What I'm talking about regards how the heavenly Daos operate, said Yu Shaoqian with a bit of vexation. After explaining this to him for so long, Long Chen had actually connected it to those fables of ghosts and monsters. Hey, little brat, get over here. Are you trying to act like a ghost in front of me? Long Chen pointed at the faint figure and shouted, hoping to scare it away with an intimidation tactic. But the ghost didn't give a damn about him. It just stood there woodenly like a fool. Fool, it's useless. They are formed from greed and are different from shadow ghouls. They basically have no intelligence, said Yu Shaoqian. Oh, you're definitely thinking in terms of your popular folklore. Those devils and evil spirits in those stories are really just fiends. As for ghosts, they are just formed from greed. They just like following others in hopes to obtain something good from them. They have no attack power. If they run into ordinary mortals, they might be able to merge into their souls when a person is acting greedy. But even then, they can't completely control them. They'll only be able to blindly toss from side to side. That kind of situation has been called possessed by a ghost by people. As for cultivators, ghosts won't be able to invade their souls. So you don't need to care about them, said Yu Shaoqian. Long Chen finally nodded in comprehension. At the same time, he had to admire her learning. Looking at the ghost, a pondering expression appeared on his face. It was unknown what he was thinking. Hey, Long Chen, you wouldn't be getting any crazy ideas, right? Probed Yu Shaoqian. After being in contact with him for this long, she had a slightly greater understanding of him. It seems I've thought of a way to handle ghosts. Long Chen slowly walked in front of the ghost. He reached out his hand, holding a certain item. When Yu Shaoqian saw that thing, her eyes opened wide. She didn't know what to say. Long Chen, can you grow up a bit? Don't mess around. Yu Shaoqian looked at the round thing in Long Chen's hand. That was a gold coin. Everyone says that money can make even ghosts do work. Let's try it. Laughed Long Chen. Yu Shaoqian sighed. Sometimes Long Chen made her absolutely speechless. He actually wanted to bribe a ghost. Little ghost, come over. Big brother has a big pile of money here. Do you want it? Do you want to make some money? Long Chen's voice was full of excitement. Yu Shaoqian felt goosebumps. This seduction was too obvious. Long Chen, don't mess around, reprimanded Yu Shaoqian. But she had just finished saying that when a disbelieving expression appeared on her face. That ghost actually slowly approached Long Chen. Come, don't be afraid. Tell Big Brother what's going on here. I have lots and lots of money for you. Once you have money, you won't be alone. You can buy a house and marry some beautiful ghosts. You can stay in your ghost room all day and listen to your ghost women tell you ghost stories. Heavens, that kind of blessed ghost day really makes a person envious. Seeing the ghost slowly get closer, Long Chen was delighted. Nonsense continued to spout from his mouth. Yu Shaoqian was flabbergasted. Even though she thought of herself as educated, this kind of situation had escaped the scope of her learning. Could money really make even ghosts do work? Long Chen didn't feel any fear as the ghost approached him. He didn't feel any feeling of danger, and Yu Shaoqian had also said that ghosts were just manifestations of greed. If a person wasn't intensely greedy, they couldn't be possessed. A shadow appeared on Long Chen's hand. It was like a hand and it grabbed the coin. The coin floated into the air and then vanished. Long Chen and Yu Shaoqian were shocked. What was going on? The coin had disappeared without the slightest spatial fluctuation. This situation was bizarre. "Hey, don't leave once you take my money," raged Long Chen. The ghost had used some unknown method to take his coin and then retreated to its original location. That was extremely irritating to Long Chen, and lightning runes appeared on his finger. He pointed at the ghost, shouting, "Hand back my money." Crackling sounds filled the air, and the ghost seemed to have been frightened. It disappeared. "Fuck, I lost a gold coin just like that," raged Long Chen. Yu Shaoqian was silent for a long moment before suddenly saying, "I think I've figured something out. Ghosts are unable to differentiate the value of money. It was only drawn over to your gold coin because it was contaminated with too many people's desires. That is what it sensed, and it thinks it's something good for it. Don't get angry. This idea of yours is good. Take out another gold coin and see if you can draw it back. Will that work?" "It looks like it has already fled," said Long Chen. But he still took out a golden coin. These gold coins were from the Phoenix Cry Empire. He only kept them as memorabilia. Don't worry, ghosts have no intelligence. As manifestations of greed, they quickly forget any danger, said Yu Shaoqian. As she had expected, the black figure slowly appeared. It quickly appeared in front of Long Chen again. This time, Long Chen had learned from last time. He held onto the coin tightly, not letting it take it away no matter how it pulled. "Ka-ni gu ka-chi-lu." Yu Shaoqian suddenly said a string of bizarre syllables. "Shaoqian, you know how to speak ghost?" Long Chen was shocked. Even a peaceful person like Yu Shaoqian couldn't bear such a thing. She hit him in fury, saying, "You're the one speaking ghost. I'm using these tones to see if I can communicate with it using spiritual strength. If you don't understand, then don't speak." Long Chen was amazed by her knowledge. How did she know this? Yu Shaoqian repeated it 3 times, but the ghost ignored her. It was still trying to take the gold coin from Long Chen's hand, but with Long Chen's tight hold over it, it was unable to. But on the 4th time that Yu Shaoqian repeated it, her eyes suddenly brightened. "Long Chen, give this coin to it and then take out another one. But don't give that one to it for now." Hearing that, Long Chen let go. Yet again, he still couldn't figure out how the gold coin simply vanished. He took out a second one. Yu Shaoqian immediately began to communicate with it. Long Chen didn't know what she was saying. It sounded like nonsense to him. Following her instructions, he ended up giving the ghost a total of 8 gold coins before it suddenly moved. Yu Shaoqian pulled on Long Chen, following the ghost. "What's going on?" whispered Long Chen. "I managed to communicate with it, and it will bring us to the core region of the trial. All we need to do is give it some money. Long Chen, this idea of yours really was brilliant. We can just let the ghost lead the way," said Yu Shaoqian excitedly. "Hee, you praise me. If it weren't for your communication ability, this method of mine wouldn't have worked either." "I don't know how to speak ghost," laughed Long Chen. "Dislikable. Don't spout nonsense. If you didn't know how to speak ghost, that Huang Junmo wouldn't have been hoodwinked by you," said Yu Shaoqian. Long Chen decided to keep his mouth shut. The two of them followed the ghost. Every now and then, it would stop and Long Chen would have to give it a gold coin. After Long Chen had given it over 100 gold coins, and after they had walked for over 2 hours through twisting and winding corridors, light finally appeared in front of them. The ghost immediately stopped, not daring to go any further. Long Chen thought about it. As expected, with money, it was possible to get even a ghost to work for you. He decided to be a bit magnanimous and directly gave 100 gold coins to it as a bonus. Then he and Yu Shaoqian walked into the light. Before they even entered the light, he felt several powerful auras ahead. There had to be experts already there. The space in front of them suddenly opened. This was a world of light, with a bright sun hanging in the air. Only now did Long Chen realize the two of them had made a mistake. Perhaps if they had been walking above ground, it would have been much easier to reach this place. It seemed as if the underground core trial had already crumbled. As a result, It was revealed above ground in a huge space around 20 miles wide. There was a hill 10 meters tall in this space. That hill was covered in a layer of light. Once Long Chen entered, he immediately felt that something was wrong. He felt like some kind of energy had been stripped off him. This place forbids the usage of magical arts. Nor can you use heaven and earth's energy, warned Yu Shaoqian quietly. The two of them had only just entered when countless eyes stared at Long Chen like blades. There were hundreds of experts here. They were walking around the hill, frowning in thought. There were experts from the righteous path, the corrupt path, and the ancient races. But none of them were speaking. So when the two of them appeared, it immediately drew all their attention. When they saw Long Chen, they were shocked. Long Chen, you're still not dead? A chilly voice rang out, one that caused everyone's hearts to shake. That voice had come from a person with shoulder-length hair. He was surrounded by a terrifying energy, and his eyes emitted a cold light. There was a third eye on his forehead that was closed. Terrifying fluctuations came from him. Oh, aren't you Shuiyu? Your complexion looks much better than before, and your neck looks much sturdier than ever. I wonder if it will be severed as easily again? And you've even grown back both your legs? Not bad, congratulations. Long Chen looked at Shuiyu with a bit of surprise. His words caused everyone to jump in fright. People had heard of Long Chen's sudden rise, how he was powerful enough to fight with the other peak experts, but those were only stories. The peak experts in the immemorial path were existences that had blossomed from childhood. Their fame had been known for many years. But Long Chen's rise had been too sudden. Many people thought he was simply bragging, trying to raise his status without any true power to back it. But now, everyone was dumbfounded. Long Chen had not only fought against Shuiyu, but he had also severed his neck and his legs? If that was true, Long Chen was practically heaven-defying. Shuiyu ignored his provocation. He was still shocked. Leng Yuan let you go? That's impossible. Leng Yuan was merciless and vicious. All these years, Shuiyu had fought against her, and he had narrowly escaped death several times. That was why he was so confused. Long Chen had already wasted a great deal of his energy fighting him, so how could he still be alive after facing Leng Yuan? That made no sense. Tithich, do you think I'm as weak as you and would have my leg cut off instantly in a single exchange? No matter how amazing Leng Yuan is, she's nothing more than a beautiful girl. Sooner or later, I will subdue her and make it so that she can't even fight back. Long Chen patted his chest confidently. Before Shuiyu could even respond, an indifferent voice rang out. But that voice was imposing and icy. Really? I really look forward to that day. Everyone was startled. They hastily looked up to see that at some unknown point, a figure had appeared in the sky. She was beautiful, perfectly so. Her sapphire eyes possessed a breathtaking beauty. This woman, who was an embodiment of the pinnacle of beauty, caused everyone to get goosebumps. It was like a blade was pressed against their throats. A bloodthirsty aura filled the world. It was like killing intent, but not. It was like it had come from her bones, or perhaps even her soul. Leng Yuan. Long Chen was shocked. Unconsciously, his hand was already gripping his broadsword tightly. All his energy began to slowly condense as he took on a battle posture. Ghost words means nonsense or lies. So by asking her if she knew how to speak ghost, Long Chen was kind of insulting her a bit. Leng Yuan's arrival caused a formless, murderous aura to fill the entire space. It was like this space had become a bloody hell because of her arrival. The atmosphere instantly became tense, and those with weaker wills began to sweat. Her arrival shocked everyone present. But her gaze was only on Long Chen. Good, worthy of the man I've taken a fancy to. In such a short time, you've improved so much. However, with just this little power, wanting to subdue me and making it so I can't even fight back is impossible. No one dared to make a sound. Leng Yuan's aura was too powerful to the point that even breathing was difficult. Long Chen immediately felt awkward. He really had screwed himself up, bragging right before being exposed. He felt like he had slapped his own face, and not lightly. Seeing her sapphire eyes locked onto him, He felt like his face was burning. He raged, "So what? I want to subdue you. Do you have any objections?" His words caused everyone's hearts to shake. Subdue Leng Yuan? Just how many times would his head be severed on that night? Although Leng Yuan was peerlessly beautiful, the icy killing intent coming from her made it so that others couldn't feel her beauty in the slightest. In fact, they weren't even able to treat her as a woman. She was more like a killing goddess. Leng Yuan merely smiled. "No objections. If you want to subdue me, it's no problem. I just hope you don't let me kill you before that day." Leng Yuan suddenly fell from the sky. Originally, she had been descending slowly, but once she crossed a certain boundary, the wings behind her disappeared. No magical arts were permitted here. She landed on the ground. Everyone around her immediately fled, as if being near her was like standing before the gates of hell. Even Shuiyu fled, hiding further away. He held his sword, his guard raised. He was clearly terrified that Leng Yuan would kill him. In this region, he was unable to use his magical arts, so he would be at an immense disadvantage. The only comforting thing was that Leng Yuan didn't even look at him. But it was also extremely infuriating that she would only look at Long Chen. Long Chen acted calm on the outside, but he had already made his preparations for an immense battle. He didn't dare to be the slightest bit careless in front of Leng Yuan. Leng Yuan was 30 meters away from Long Chen. That was a safe distance to him, as magical arts were forbidden. "Oh, you." Leng Yuan suddenly glanced at the veiled Yu Shaoqian with shock. "Not good. She has void-piercing eyes." Long Chen's heart skipped a beat. "Long Chen, her void-piercing eyes have already seen through my identity," said Yu Shaoqian to Long Chen. "Don't be afraid. The worst case is that we'll have to kill everyone here." Long Chen made his determination. If Leng Yuan exposed Yu Shaoqian, he wouldn't hesitate to pay any price to kill everyone here. Leng Yuan's void-piercing eyes caused the two of them to feel extremely uneasy. If they were exposed here in front of others, they would immediately be attacked by everyone. Yu Shaoqian was most afraid of implicating Long Chen. For her, the worst case was leaving the immemorial path and forever staying in the skyscraping world. But Long Chen would be hunted down on the martial heaven continent no matter where he went. "Do you know what you're doing?" Leng Yuan looked at Long Chen indifferently. But she wasn't speaking. Instead, she was mouthing her words so only Long Chen and Leng Yuan could know what she was saying. "Of course. I hope you can protect this secret," responded Long Chen in the same manner. That's impossible. I don't want to deal with troublesome things. If you kill her right now, I can consider keeping your secret." Leng Yuan stared at Long Chen, seeming to see through his inner heart. "No one can kill her unless they step over my corpse. If you refuse to keep it secret, then I'm sorry, but I can only kill you." Long Chen raised his broadsword. Yu Shaoqian's eyes were wet. His simple words caused her to feel the warmth of being protected. She also raised her sword. If Long Chen were to attack, she wouldn't mind using her core energy to kill everyone here. She didn't want to implicate him. Not bad, not bad, truly worthy of being the man I've taken a fancy to. I like this stubbornness of yours." What Long Chen and Yu Shaoqian hadn't expected was for Leng Yuan to suddenly laugh, and her laughter sounded happy. The others weren't able to understand what was going on. Seeing them draw their weapons, they had thought Leng Yuan would immediately attack them. But now she suddenly laughed. They found it inconceivable. Long Chen couldn't help being delighted, but he didn't dare to say it out loud. Looking at Leng Yuan, he suddenly said out loud, "I find that you're growing more and more beautiful." "Haha." Leng Yuan laughed. Her laughter was especially beautiful when combined with her sapphire eyes. Even Yu Shaoqian became absent-minded for a moment. Suddenly, Leng Yuan shot at Long Chen, her bone sword stabbing toward his heart. Her speed was absolutely incomparable. Boom! Long Chen hastily blocked with his broadsword. It was fortunate the broadsword was wide enough, so even caught off guard, it managed to block Leng Yuan's attack. Long Chen was knocked back several steps, his blood leaping within him. "If I'm like this, do you still feel I'm beautiful?" Leng Yuan resheathed her sword after that one attack. It seemed she was teasing him as if she had just made a joke to him. You really are mentally ill. Long Chen was startled and infuriated, and he couldn't help but curse. Leng Yueyan's attack had been incredibly quick and vicious. If he had been struck, it really was possible he would have been killed without even having a chance to heal. She had been so amicable and laughed, but she turned hostile in the blink of an eye, wanting to take his life. Everyone was silent. Only Long Chen's furious roar continued to echo. Everyone felt a chill. Even Shui Yu was no exception. When Leng Yueyan had attacked, it was like it had happened in an instant. Before they could react, it was already over. It was too fast. The name of the Devil Empress Leng Yueyan was even more illustrious than Shui Yu. There were no experts who didn't know it. Now seeing her terrifying speed, they turned pale. With such speed, even if they were on guard, they wouldn't be able to block. It could be said that other than a few experts that could be counted on their fingers, Leng Yueyan could kill anyone she wanted here without wasting a second move. Furthermore, it was also shocking that Long Chen could block this attack. His reaction was also monstrous. They didn't know that Long Chen had already fought a life-and-death battle against Leng Yueyan. He was a bit familiar with her moves, and it was only because of his instinctive reaction that he had managed to block it. Seeing Long Chen roaring furiously like an angry lion, Leng Yueyan smiled. Didn't I just stab you once? You don't need to be so petty. Look, there are so many people there, but I don't bother stabbing them. That proves that in my eyes, you're different from them. Fuck off. Go stab them then and see if they'll be so magnanimous. Raged Long Chen. His words caused everyone to turn green. They once more fled like startled rabbits. They were now basically on the border of this space. Inside, they cursed Long Chen to death. Yu Shaoqian was shocked. She had never seen such speed. Leng Yueyan could attack without making any signs, meaning her attack had come essentially before she had even thought about attacking, the opposite of an ordinary person. This attack exceeded her understanding. I've already said it was just a joke. If I really wanted to kill you, I would tell you beforehand. Can you still not resolve your temper? However, your reactions and power really are not bad. Only by getting stronger can you think of picking up girls. Not bad, not bad. Did anything happen between the two of you? Leng Yueyan looked from Long Chen to Yu Shaoqian, her sapphire eyes sweeping over their bodies. Does that have a damn thing to do with you? Raged Long Chen. He still hadn't calmed down from his fury. He thought Leng Yueyan had failed to live up to his confidence. This was a kind of deception, which made it hard for him to accept. He suddenly had an urge to release all his power and have a fight with her. But she was smiling innocently, making it so he couldn't attack. The feeling of not being able to release his anger was stifling. Having Leng Yueyan's gaze sweep over her body, Yu Shaoqian suddenly turned red, fury in her eyes. Oh, you're still a virgin? It seems your relationship hasn't developed to that point. Regretful, regretful. Oh, Long Chen, who would have thought that you're also a virgin? Leng Yueyan suddenly looked at Long Chen with shock. Fuck off, just who is a virgin? I have countless experiences with women and am a seasoned veteran. In fact, others nicknamed me the adamantine golden spear. Do you even understand what the expression that young women like older men means? Raged Long Chen. In this era, calling men virgins was a kind of insult. Long Chen, don't be so crass. Yu Shaoqian reddened. The distant experts looked at them oddly. They felt like the world was going crazy. This was the legendary Devil Empress that killed people without blinking, the Leng Yueyan that had walked a path of broken bones? Why did it seem more like they were flirting? Tisage, I won't lower myself to your level. I'm going to go see what treasure is inside. If you aren't afraid of me suddenly killing you, you can come with me, said Leng Yueyan. Just like that, she began walking toward the center. Long Chen was unable to figure out this beautiful killing goddess. But in the end, he and Yu Shaoqian still decided to follow her. There was a hill with a diameter of around 30 meters. It looked like a fake mountain as there were little mounds on it. In front of those mounds were coffins. Long Chen couldn't help but find this curious. Coffins should have been buried underground. Why would they be left outside? That made no sense. How strange. Long Chen, what do you say? What is going on here? Leng Yueyan suddenly turned back. Long Chen was just about to answer with how the hell was he supposed to know, when he suddenly smiled. I know. But why do I have to tell you? Leng Yueyan was startled. She hadn't expected him to know such an ancient secret. At first, she wanted to say something, but seeing that he appeared hostile, she chose to stay silent for a moment. If you tell me, I will forever protect one of your secrets, she said suddenly, glancing at Yu Shaoqian. Really? I, Leng Yueyan, disdain lying, she said indifferently. That voice was full of her arrogance. Alright, that's what you said. You better keep your word. Hearing Long Chen's words, although the others didn't dare to get closer, they perked up their ears. After investigating for this long, they still hadn't managed to solve this riddle. In truth, burying coffins usually requires 3 people to be most efficient. 1 person digs the hole, 1 person buries the coffin, and 1 person fills the mound. According to my vast experience, just from one small clue, the truth reveals itself to me. I would be so bold as to conclude through my careful analysis that, said Long Chen. Conclude what? Leng Yueyan didn't say anything, so it was Yu Shaoqian that urged him on. That on that day, the person in charge of burying the coffin didn't come to work. So 1 person dug the hole, 1 person filled the mound, but then the coffin was just left outside, said Long Chen with absolute certainty. Everyone's expressions became odd. They all glared at Long Chen. What kind of dog's hit logic was this? Having been listening so carefully, they felt like they had been duped. Long Chen, do you believe me when I say I'll kill you right now? Leng Yueyan's expression finally became a bit angry. In all her memories, this was the first time someone dared to try to dupe her. Did you make some kind of mistake? Didn't you just say that if I told you, you'd forever protect one of my secrets? I've already told you my deduction, but you immediately became hostile. It seems that I recall a certain someone saying something like I, Leng Yueyan, disdain lying? What, you regret it so quickly? Said Long Chen, even imitating her tone. But his imitation was a bit exaggerated, and instead of seeming like a killing god, he seemed like an effeminate man. Everyone felt a chill. Long Chen really was crazy. Even if he wanted to die so badly, did he have to provoke Leng Yueyan? Seeing Leng Yueyan's unchanging expression finally become angry, Long Chen felt refreshed inside. After being stabbed, he hadn't been able to retaliate. Now they were even. But he was still on guard. If Leng Yueyan really released her anger, who knew how crazy she would become? Ha ha ha. But contrary to all expectations, Leng Yueyan laughed. Her laughter was beautiful, but somehow gave people an uncomfortable feeling like they were being summoned by a death god. Hee hee, don't be so petty. It was just a joke, laughed Long Chen. He finally experienced how shameless and refreshing it was to attack others while not letting them take offense. Just like how Leng Yueyan had stabbed him and acted like it was a joke, he had finally succeeded in counterattacking. Truly worthy of being the man I've taken a fancy to. You're much more brazen than others. More and more, I'm looking forward to our battle. Be careful because the next time we speak, your head might be in my hands. Then there wouldn't be anything fun to play, said Leng Yueyan, her sapphire eyes sparkling. Truly worthy of being the woman I've taken a fancy to. You're much more beautiful than others. More and more, I'm looking forward to our battle. Be careful, because the next time we speak, I might have already subdued you to make you warm my bed. Hee hee, then we'd have something fun to play. Long Chen laughed. Originally, he had just been talking randomly, but when he spoke of subduing Leng Yueyan, his heart began to pound. That was something far too challenging but also enticing. Yu Shaoqian looked from Long Chen to Leng Yueyan. She suddenly realized something and smiled slightly. Don't fight. Let me explain. This is a kind of empty coffin blood burial. These coffins are empty, with the corpses buried underground. The bottom of the coffins have evil suppressing runes that prevent the corpses from being contaminated. According to legend, in the ancient era, the devil race's souls continued to exist even after they died. They become a form of energy that can't be extinguished with martial might. To have them completely die required formations to exhaust their energy. However, these coffins are also a bit different from those. Their front is narrow while their back is wide. They are the very rarely seen item nourishing empty coffins. Item nourishing empty coffins? I have heard of that. People suppress devil corpses within the burial mound, while the coffins extract their energy to nourish the item inside the coffin, said Leng Yuan. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Using a devil corpse's essence soul to nourish items would make the items much stronger. However, this hill was covered by a layer of light. It was a formation, and they had been trying things for a long time without managing to open it. Previously, there had been a rank 3 celestial with a powerful treasure item, and he had tried to charge his way in. As a result, the formation had directly killed him. Even the treasure item had shattered. No one else had dared to be impulsive after that. Xiaoqian, you really are amazing. I find you're a combination of beauty and smarts. The heavens blessed you with both fairy-like beauty and a godlike wisdom. Clearly, the heavens were worried that your aspects would be disharmonized, praised Long Qin. Yu Xiaoqian smiled bashfully. Although her veil covered most of her face, just what was revealed was enough to topple cities. All women liked having their beauty praised, especially by the person they liked. But having it done in front of this many people, she glared at Long Qin. Long Qin, you bastard, are you trying to curse me for only having an empty shell and no head? Raged Leng Yuan. Killing intent surfaced from her, one that it made it seem like space was freezing. Everyone jumped but Long Qin smiled. Beauty, you're overthinking it. Please don't take a random comment as a personal attack. His voice was extremely calm, but his meaning was very obvious. Yes, he had done that intentionally. Everyone had to praise his guts. He was a true man. Not everyone had the courage to tease a killing goddess. Even those from the corrupt path had to admire him. But their admiration contained some mockery, as well as delight in his misfortunate. They wished Leng Yuan would kill him right here and now. Just wait. Leng Yuan glared at Long Qin for a moment before ignoring him, continuing toward the mountain. Long Qin dithered more and more, maintaining a somewhat safe distance. This mountain was covered in mounds, thousands of them. But each one of them was only the size of a palm. Xiaoqian, what could be inside these coffins? Do these coffins have their own spaces? Asked Long Qin. Before Yu Xiaoqian could reply, Leng Yuan said, you don't even know about spatial formations, but you still dared to come out adventuring? The fact that you could live until today is a miracle. Having a brain is a good thing. I just wish everyone had one. You, raged Long Qin. Long Qin, this big sister is right. This defensive barrier is a spatial formation. In truth, this is a huge mountain, and when these coffins aren't in compressed space, they will also grow larger. They just look small now, said Yu Xiaoqian. Long Qin hadn't come into contact with many spatial formations, and as a result, Leng Yuan had immediately found a foothold to strike back without Long Qin being able to retaliate. Who asked him not to have vast enough knowledge? Suddenly, Leng Yuan closed her eyes and formed hand seals. A powerful pressure suddenly erupted from her. Her robes and hair danced, making her look like an immortal. But at the same time, endless blood qi filled the air. The aura made people want to prostrate themselves before her. Long Qin's heart shook as this aura was very familiar. It was a sign she was about to use her spirit blood. Although she didn't summon that illusory figure, this aura was definitely the aura of her spirit blood. When Leng Yuan reopened her eyes, runes were sparkling within them. A ray of light shot into the light barrier. What terrifying void-piercing eyes. She's actually capable of clearly seeing everything inside. Yu Xiaoqian let out a startled cry. Everyone was shocked. Leng Yuan was terrifying. Just using her eyes, she could cause the formation to shake unsteadily. Even a powerful force was erupting from the light barrier. Those who had never seen her before finally realized how terrifying this legendary person was. Just the slightest bit of her power could kill them. A pity. There's nothing in here that I want. After a moment, Leng Yuan retracted her aura. Her eyes dimmed and everything returned to normal. However, she was clearly a bit weary. That probing of hers had to have been extremely taxing. Leng Yuan glanced at Long Qin, and suddenly she extended her hand. An azure light shot toward Yu Xiaoqian. Long Chen was startled, thinking Ling Yuan had attacked Yu Shaoqian. But that azure light was just a spiritual imprint, and it didn't possess any offensive power. Yu Shaoqian extended a hand and caught it. The light disappeared, but Yu Shaoqian was delighted. "Many thanks, big sister." Leng Yuan shook her head. "Although there's nothing I need inside, I still owe you a favor. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have recognized what these coffins were. I, Leng Yuan, dislike owing favors. Now that I've returned it, we'll be enemies the next time we meet, because next time, I will cut down this fellow." After saying that, Leng Yuan walked away in front of everyone's uncomprehending gazes. She clearly was intent on leaving. Long Chen also didn't comprehend it. Leng Yuan had clearly told Yu Shaoqian something, but for her to leave just like this surprised him. Seeing her leave, everyone relaxed. With her here, the pressure was just too great, especially in this region where magical arts were forbidden. Her speed was too shocking, and without magical arts, they wouldn't even have a chance to run. Haha, I didn't expect this place to be so lively. Even some legendary figures have appeared. Looks like my luck isn't bad. Suddenly, a thunderous laugh rang out from the sky. A large figure with wings floated down slowly. Yu Changhao. Everyone was startled. The only people that naturally had wings in the eastern wasteland were the feather race. Furthermore, this person's incredibly powerful aura meant he had to be their #1 expert, Yu Changhao. Yu Changhao floated within this forbidden zone, as his wings were not formed through a magical art. In this region, perhaps he was the only one capable of flying. Once he arrived, he stopped right in front of Leng Yuan. Leng Yuan paused and icily looked at him. "Scram." Yu Changhao didn't get angry. In fact, he laughed. "As expected, you're just like the legends. I've long since heard the grand name of the arrogant godlike devil empress Leng Yuan. Excellent, you're very much to my taste. Only a woman like you is worthy of me subduing." Leng Yuan examined Yu Changhao and shook her head. "I'm not interested in a man like you. Get out of my way. I still have things to do, and I'm too busy to kill people." Yu Changhao was slightly surprised. Although he had long since heard that Leng Yuan was incomparably arrogant, he hadn't expected her to treat him like he was nothing. "A wild horse is the best. Hee, then let me see whether I can subdue you or not." Yu Changhao snorted and extended a hand toward Leng Yuan's chest. He was originally 300 meters from her, but as he moved, he suddenly appeared before her. Almost nobody was able to see how he had done that. "Your speed's not bad, but it'll still not enough," said Leng Yuan indifferently. Suddenly, her bone blade slashed through the air. Her terrifying speed made it look like she was directly cutting through space. People even saw the space around her sword twist. That wasn't from a magical art, but something that would happen when something's speed was pushed to the pinnacle. When Leng Yuan had attacked Long Chen, no one had seen it clearly since they hadn't been expecting it. It was like it had ended before starting. This time, they had long since been waiting with rapt attention. But even so, they were only able to see that blade's image flash for a moment. They were fundamentally incapable of tracking her sword with their eyes. Leng Yuan's sword was slashing straight toward Yu Changhao's throat with her terrifying speed and at a crafty angle. Yu Changhao, who had long since been prepared, snorted. He continued with his claw, while his other hand reached toward her sword. Leng Yuan's mouth curled into a smile of ridicule. When he saw that smile, Yu Changhao finally had a bad feeling. But as a peak expert, he had confidence in his move. Just as his hand was about to touch her bone blade, countless tiny runes appeared on his palm. That wasn't a magical art, but his bloodline runes. They were also his core runes. This formation did not strip him of those. This was one of Yu Changhao's most effective moves. Countless experts had fallen to this move. He had absolute confidence in it, which was why he dared to block Leng Yuan's bone blade with his bare hand. Even if it was a treasure item, he had confidence in stopping it within one breath's time. That was enough to determine victory or defeat. This was a move he had tempered through countless battles and the lives of countless experts. His hand caught Leng Yuan's sword. Yu Changhao was delighted, thinking to himself that Leng Yuan was only at this level. As expected, rumors were always exaggerated. He smiled. But that smile quickly disappeared, because he was horrified to sense fluctuations constantly coming from the bone sword. His hand only caught it for a moment before it slipped through his grasp as if it was covered in oil. It was impossible for him to hold it. Leng Yuan's slash turned into a pierce. Her bone sword was now piercing straight toward his head. Yu Changhao was horrified. He had no choice but to stop his attack. The hand grabbing the bone blade fiercely pulled away, causing her attack to deviate. But just at that moment, he found that the bone sword began to release an absorptive force. It pulled him in closer. Leng Yuan seemed to have long since expected all of this, and the moment he tried to pull her sword away, she used that opportunity to escape his grasp. Even with Yu Changhao's quick reactions, he still staggered forward half a step. Not good. Just at that moment, the soft absorptive force from the bone blade disappeared. It slashed straight toward his head. If this attack struck, half his head would be sliced off. The wings behind Yu Changhao's body suddenly lit up, and he shot back. It was like something had fiercely pulled him from behind. This happened incredibly quickly. It was over in the blink of an eye. People felt like their vision had merely blurred for an instant before everything became still. Yu Changhao was back in his original position, 300 meters from Leng Yuan. It was like that exchange hadn't even happened. Leng Yuan sheathed her bone blade and indifferently said, "You want to subdue me with just this little ability? I have to admire your courage. Your speed is insufficient, and your battle techniques are also not good enough. Perhaps by relying on your core energy, you can fight me for a short while, but you don't even have a 10% chance of defeating me. Letting you see some of your own blood can count as an admonishment for your arrogance. If I didn't have more pressing matters, this world would no longer have a Yu Changhao." Leng Yuan's icy voice was beautiful, but it caused everyone to feel a chill. They saw a stream of blood coming from Yu Changhao's forehead. Yu Changhao had managed to block her fatal attack, but he had still been injured. From that injury, it was possible to see bone. If he had just been the slightest bit slower, he would be dead. Just as everyone was filled with shock, Leng Yuan stamped lightly on the ground and shot into the sky. Once free from the formation, a pair of runic wings appeared on her back. Her scarlet dress danced in the wind, making her look like a goddess. Her sapphire eyes locked onto Long Chen. "Long Chen, you're the man I care about the most. Don't disappoint me. Next time we meet, I hope you can block my attack." After saying that, Leng Yuan's wings flapped, and she disappeared in front of their gazes. Crazy, absolutely crazy. Long Chen raged to himself. Just how had he brought such a crazy woman upon himself? "Xiaoqian, what did she say to you?" Long Chen asked Yu Xiaoqian secretly using a spiritual message. This kind of spiritual message was something that could only be used between two people that trusted each other. If they were strangers, both parties wouldn't want to accept the spiritual message. If someone had evil intentions, they could use a spiritual attack during the transmission while the other party's guard was down. As for that azure light Leng Yuan had shot out, it was a different kind of spiritual message. Yu Xiaoqian had been able to safely accept it. That big sister said, "Don't call her big sister. She's just a crazy woman, and my enemy. Don't get tricked," warned Long Chen. Yu Xiaoqian had pitifully little experience. It was best if she didn't mistake Leng Yuan for an ally. After all, Leng Yuan was a vicious character. Being merciful to her was suicidal. "She told me that there is something I need within one of these coffins," said Yu Xiaoqian. Her void-piercing eyes are said to be able to pierce through all fabrications to see the truth. Perhaps she really did see something. Although she's crazy, there's not much of a problem when it comes to her trustworthiness, said Long Chen. She isn't tricking me. I am extremely sensitive to other people's lies, and that sense is unrelated to cultivation base. I'm sure, said Yu Xiaoqian. All right, then we'll trust her this once. But even if we know this, it's useless. With this protective formation, we can't go in. Long Chen couldn't help but curse Leng Yuan inside. If she wanted to be a good person, she should have acted good all the way until the end. If they weren't able to get through his formation, what she had told them would be useless. Just as Long Chen was wondering how to get through this formation, the others finally recovered from their shock at Leng Yuan and Yu Changhao's exchange. Although that had been a simple exchange, it had contained the essence of battle, the essence of the martial Tao. There was a great deal that could be learned from it. Yu Changhao also only recovered from his shock now. He had never expected Leng Yueyin to be this powerful. He was also furious. His previous words had truly been too arrogant. Now he had fallen into this miserable state in front of countless elites. It could be said that he had lost all his face. At this time, Yu Changhao saw Yu Shaoqian whispering to Long Chen. It was unknown whether it was because of what Leng Yueyin had said just before leaving, but his fury immediately erupted. Die! Yu Changhao's wings lit up as he shot toward Long Chen with incredible speed. One of his claws reached toward his throat. Fuck off! Pow! A crisp sound rang out. Long Chen had been speaking with Yu Shaoqian, and Yu Changhao suddenly attacked him. Long Chen instinctively slapped him across the face in his fury. Originally, Long Chen had already been stifling his anger because of Leng Yueyin. Now this idiot had come to release his own wrath. How could Long Chen's slap possibly not be vicious? Yu Changhao's face immediately deformed, and he flew back at almost twice the speed. He slammed into a huge stone pillar. As a result, it was blown to bits. That stone pillar had runes supporting it, making it extremely sturdy. It was clear just how hard Yu Changhao had crashed into it. This attack caused everyone to become sluggish. Yu Changhao had just been injured by Leng Yueyin. That was still reasonable, as Leng Yueyin was extremely famous. But now he was facing Long Chen. Before he could even get close to him, he was sent flying by a slap in the face. And it was clear he hadn't even had a chance to block. A face slap was an extremely humiliating thing. Normally, only someone who was several times stronger, or even dozens of times stronger, would be able to use it against someone. This slap not only caused Yu Changhao to become dizzy, but it also caused everyone else to be dumbfounded. This was just too shocking. They didn't know that Long Chen's face-slapping art had been trained thousands of times through the faces of countless experts. It had already reached a kind of divine realm. For Yu Changhao to try to defeat Long Chen in one move to erase his humiliation, this sorrowful ending was only natural. Long Chen, I will tear you apart piece by piece. Yu Changhao suddenly soared into the air, his face twisted in a sinister expression. He shot toward him. Shaoqian, you provide support for me. I'll teach this birdman a lesson. Long Chen stamped on the ground and shot up, smashing a fist at Yu Changhao. Boom. Their two fists collided, causing a powerful explosive sound. The entire ground rocked, startling everyone. What power! What monstrous physical strength! With the formation here, in this forbidden zone, no magical arts could be used, nor could they draw in the world's energy for their own use. This collision was entirely from the power of their physical bodies. The feather race was an ancient race. Their bodies were extremely powerful, and they were famed even within the ancient era. Amongst the Eastern Wasteland's ancient races, the power of their physical bodies could be ranked number one. You want to tear me apart piece by piece? Then today, I'll pluck all your feathers off one by one. Long Chen's voice was like thunder, and another fist once more smashed toward Yu Changhao. In truth, part of his fury stemmed from Leng Yueyin. Without having had a place to release the fury she had given him, he used Yu Changhao to vent. With Yu Changhao having said that he was his prey before the opening of the immemorial path, there were multiple factors causing his fury to soar. Today, I will definitely kill you. Yu Changhao was also infuriated. Today had been too stifling for him. He had been injured by Leng Yueyin just now. If he was quibbling, he could say that Leng Yueyin had taken advantage of her speed to catch him off guard. But Long Chen's slap in the face had been too resounding. It hadn't just slapped across his face, it had also slapped across his heart and also his arrogant soul. Yu Changhao became covered in blood qi that formed a layer of light. It wasn't a magical art, but his core energy. Spirit blood. Long Chen was startled. Did Yu Changhao also possess spirit blood? Boom. Their two attacks once more collided. Long Chen felt his blood flipping within him. This time, Yu Changhao's power was extremely monstrous. He was a bit surprised, But Yu Changhao was even more surprised. Long Chen's guess was correct. This truly was the power of his spirit blood. But his spirit blood wasn't pure and couldn't compare to Leng Yuan's. He was only able to use a portion of his spirit blood's power. Just that little bit was enough to allow his power to multiply and normally make him unrivaled. But today, in terms of absolute power, he had run into his match. Long Chen's own power was shockingly great, and he wasn't able to get the slightest advantage. Having failed to get an advantage with this attack, his fists opened to become claws. His fingers were like hooks. He rapidly stretched his claws toward Long Chen's shoulders at a crafty angle. He clearly excelled in close-range fighting. Furthermore, at this moment, his claws became a faint golden color, and a layer of light appeared on them. Long Chen took half a step back, just barely dodging. But what he didn't expect was for the claws to suddenly extend. They instantly reached his shoulders. Long Chen hastily gave up his attack and shot back. Dots of blood appeared on his shoulders. What a bizarre attack. The experts present couldn't help being horrified. How could a person's arms suddenly grow half a foot longer? Yu Changhao is the golden wing blood falcon's descendant. His physical body is extremely powerful, and with the power of his bloodline, his physical body is comparable to treasure items. For Long Chen to fight him barehanded is suicide, sneered one of the ancient race experts. He clearly didn't think Long Chen could keep himself alive in front of Yu Changhao. Although he had previously slapped him in the face, that was just an accident. It didn't represent that he truly had the ability to fight Yu Changhao. Bird claws? They're pretty good. Long Chen looked at his blood and snorted. Circulating his primal chaos bead, his injuries instantly healed. Watch how I slap you. Long Chen shot forward, his left hand streaking toward Yu Changhao's face. That infuriated Yu Changhao, and his claws reached out, one from above and one from below. As long as he managed to grab Long Chen's arm, he would instantly tear it off. Yu Changhao sneered when he saw that Long Chen wasn't able to see how strong this move of his was. His arm was just about to fall into a death trap. He could already see the sight of Long Chen screaming miserably as his arm was torn off. Pow! Yu Changhao's claws had only just touched Long Chen's arm when a strange hand that seemed to move straight through space viciously slapped across his face. The sound was too resounding. It made everyone's eardrums shake. Yu Changhao had been too focused on tearing off Long Chen's arm, and he had neglected Long Chen's divine face-slapping technique. The main thing was that he was just too confident in his claws. The result proved that the majority of those who drowned knew how to swim. Yu Changhao's overconfidence led to his downfall. Long Chen's slap contained all his power, and Yu Changhao's face caved in. The sound of bones breaking caused people to feel a chill in their hearts. Yu Changhao shot back like a cannonball. He smashed into a wall, and the entire underground cavern shook. Heavens, what is going on? Everyone was horrified. This sudden turn of events had come out of nowhere. They had just seen Yu Changhao's leap in power. Just as they had thought he would easily defeat Long Chen, he had been slapped in the face again, but this time by 10 times the power. People had even seen his face caved in as he had shot back. This attack had been too vicious. They felt their scalps turn numb. This was the result when Yu Changhao with his incredibly powerful physical body was struck. If it had been anyone else, this kind of power would have definitely caused their head to blow to bits. Boom. Shattered rocks erupted as Yu Changhao flew out of the rubble. Ah! He let out a furious roar. He had already reached a berserk state. Your mother? Who would want to hear you singing? Pow! Yu Changhao had just flown out and roared to release his fury. But his roar was cut short by another slap. Long Chen had long since expected this idiot to do something to express his anger once he flew out. That was precisely what these arrogant idiots often did. He had been waiting, and as soon as Yu Changhao appeared, he had already shot forward to slap him. This kind of attack with no killing intent was the hardest to sense. Yu Changhao was once more sent flying. But this time, Long Chen had sent him in a certain direction. He was shooting toward the hill. Yu Changhao flew towards the hill like a shooting star, and everyone let out a startled cry. That formation did not allow others to touch it. That previous rank 3 celestial had been exterminated by the formation, and even his treasure item had been destroyed. Hearing their startled cries and sensing an immense feeling of danger, Yu Changhao knew that the results would be too miserable to imagine if he really struck this light barrier. The runes on his wings erupted with light, and he forcibly stabilized. He just barely managed to stop a few feet away from the light barrier. He hastily shot away, distancing himself from it. Only once he was further away did he feel slightly safer. Regretfully, due to that sudden crisis, he had forgotten that there was an existence even more terrifying than that light barrier rushing toward him right now. By the time Yu Changhao recalled Long Chen's existence, his elegant long hair was caught in both of Long Chen's hands. Long Chen pulled, and a hard knee smashed into Yu Changhao's arrogant nose. "Who let you be a poser? Who let you be a poser? Who let you be a poser?" Loud bangs resounded throughout the air. In front of everyone's shocked gazes, Long Chen's knee continuously slammed into Yu Changhao's nose. "Die!" Yu Changhao suddenly let out a furious roar. His wings were like two sharp blades that slashed toward Long Chen. Long Chen's heart shook. His wings possessed a power that caused his heart to pound. He hastily released Yu Changhao, viciously kicking him in the chest and using that power to retreat. At the same time, he viciously flung out a brick. Boom! Yu Changhao's wings slammed together, causing heaven and earth to shake. But his attack had missed. He had only just stabilized himself. But when everyone saw his face, they were dumbfounded. All they saw was that Yu Changhao's face had disappeared. No, more accurately, it was hidden by a brick. This metallic brick was perfectly inlaid on his face. It was right in the middle. This brick was something Long Chen had obtained in an underground tomb in the Jiuli secret realm. It was made of an extremely hard metal. The majority of them had been given to Guoran, but he had kept a few for himself. When he had dodged Yu Changhao's attack, he hadn't even thought about it. He had just randomly thrown it at him, using it as a concealed weapon. As a result, this scene appeared, leaving everyone dumbfounded. "Leng Yuan could cut your face to the bone, while I can crush your face to your bone. But I didn't expect your face to be even bigger than a brick. No wonder you dare to spout such big words," said Long Chen coldly, standing with his hands clasped behind his back. With great difficulty, Yu Changhao pulled the brick out of his face. It revealed his square-shaped face. "Long Chen, if I don't kill you today, then I won't be Yu Changhao." Everyone was startled. This Yu Changhao was too powerful. Even though his face had been completely deformed, he still let out a heaven-shaking roar. Golden lines appeared on his body, and a terrifying pressure erupted. His wings spread and then slashed toward Long Chen. Yu Changhao had truly gone berserk. He was using one of his core divine abilities. With his golden wing blood falcon's bloodline, this attack's power was horrifying. Long Chen's heart shook. Seeing the runes circulating on his wings, Long Chen didn't dare to receive it head-on. He hastily shifted to the side. A terrifying golden light shot by his body. An ear-piercing sound rang out in the air as if the void was being pierced. Boom! That light pierced straight through a wall. The wall was instantly blown to bits, and a rumbling sound continued. It was unknown just how far this attack was going. But just as everyone was horrified by Yu Changhao's attack, space began to shake. Countless runes began to appear, causing everyone to jump and raise their defenses. Those runes released terrifying spatial fluctuations. The world seemed to instantly become heavy as a great pressure descended on them. Heavens, they touched the mechanism. The formation is about to be released. People let out startled cries as they saw the light barrier over the hill begin to dim. It grew dimmer, and in the end, it exploded like glass. A wild aura surged over them. The treasures have appeared. Everyone hastily charged into the small hill. Now that the treasures had appeared, Long Chen and Yu Changhao no longer had any desire to fight. They also charged toward that hill. Long Chen also noticed that once that light barrier had disappeared, the formation preventing magical arts had also disappeared. "Long Chen, let's split up," said Yu Shaoqian. She was already impatient to find her target. Leng Yuan had told her the general location of what she needed. She directly rushed off. Long Chen nodded. This was also good. If they were together, it would make them appear too conspicuous. If they found a true treasure, it was all too easy for others to get jealous and bring trouble for them. Not revealing wealth was the way of the king. Long Chen cursed Lin Yueyan inside. Before leaving, she had only told Yu Shaoqian something, but not him. Truly unjust. Long Chen trusted that Lin Yueyan's void-piercing eyes had seen through many secrets, but she refused to share them with him. Once Long Chen rushed over to the hill, he suddenly found that the hill also seemed to be rushing toward him. It was growing bigger and bigger. Originally, it was just a hill 10 meters tall. But only now when they were flying toward it did everyone realize that it was a huge mountain with a diameter measured in the tens of thousands of miles. Primal chaos lingered around the mountain. An ancient and desolate aura filled the air, giving it an extremely ancient feel. Large mounds covered the entire mountain. At this time, the cultivators to move first had already reached the mountain. One expert had just arrived in front of one of the mounds and reached toward the coffin. The coffins had also grown with the mountain, but they still looked like ordinary coffins. They hadn't changed a great deal. That person had only just touched the coffin when countless runes on the coffin lit up, releasing a multicolored light. That person didn't even get a chance to make a sound before he was blown into a blood mist. What? There are more protective formations here? Seeing that scene, everyone was horrified. They hastily summoned their cries of the heavenly Daos, forming layers of protection before they approached the coffins again. One coffin was pushed open by a corrupt expert. A soft light surged out, causing everyone to look over. But it was empty inside. It's empty? Someone definitely came before us and took the treasure. These coffins were all nourishing treasures. If the treasures inside them were taken away, according to reason, new ones would be put in. But once the immemorial path had been shattered, there had been no one to look after them. So it was very likely there were empty ones. Thinking of that, suddenly quite a few people rushed toward the coffin that had killed someone. Scram! This coffin is mine. I'll kill whoever comes over. Suddenly, a large man from the ancient races appeared. He waved his spear imposingly. He was an innate rank 3 celestial. Everyone came to a halt. There was a high chance that a treasure resided inside this coffin. But in front of an innate rank 3 celestial from the ancient races, they didn't dare to continue. They could only try to test their luck elsewhere. Seeing that no one dared to approach, the ancient race expert slowly touched the coffin. The coffin immediately spat out a multicolored light at him. He shouted icily, erupting with all his power, blocking the light. He pushed against the coffin's lid. Everyone's expressions changed. That coffin's lid was heavier than a mountain. It only budged bit by bit. Furthermore, it moved according to a set frequency, only slowly revealing the slightest opening after several breaths. A desolate aura immediately erupted from that slightest opening, changing the ancient race expert's expression. The space around him was pressing in on him, seeming to want to crush him. "Open!" he roared, resisting that force. He brought out his full power, trying to see what was inside. But no matter how he tried, that lid only moved according to a set slow speed. It took over 10 breaths before a half-a-foot crack appeared. It's a set of armor. From that crack, they finally saw the treasure. That armor should be an extremely powerful treasure item from the runes and the aura of primal chaos that circulated around it. Everyone's eyes immediately turned red. These were treasure items. And after going through the nourishing of these coffins, their spirituality had to be extremely high. Many of the people here didn't even have the qualifications to possess a treasure item yet. That ancient race expert took a full incense stick's worth of time before managing to open the coffin by a foot. He was already impatient and felt that this was already enough. He no longer bothered pushing against the coffin. Instead, he reached in to grab the armor. But what he didn't expect was that as he stopped pushing the lid, it suddenly slammed shut. He let out a miserable scream as his arm was squeezed off. A portion of it was now within the coffin. The speed at which the coffin had closed had been too fast for him to react. As soon as that person was injured, 2 others rushed over. They were covered with fur and should be from the same race as him. The two of them were previously guarding the outer perimeter. But now they came to give him a hand. With them working together, they quickly opened the coffin again. The rank 3 celestial seemed wary and took out a long pair of pliers, carefully reaching it into the coffin to take the armor. Boom. The pliers had just entered the coffin when the lid once more instantly shut. Those enchanted level pliers were blown apart, and his own hands turned bloody. The two helping him were sent flying, vomiting blood. Everyone's heart shook. It seemed they had to obediently follow the rules of this place and completely open the coffin before taking what was inside. Although everyone had entered, they had all been watching this fellow as an experiment. What happened to him proved that they had been right to wait. The lessons he had taught them paved their own paths. Long Chen walked around the entire mountain. There were tens of thousands of coffins scattered randomly throughout the mountain. He also saw where Yu Shaoqian was. Since she had known the origin of these coffins, she should also know how to open them. There shouldn't be any problems. At this time, all the experts finally set into motion, choosing their own targets. They were smart people, first rushing to the side of the coffin. If no runic attack appeared, then those coffins had to be empty and there was no need to waste time. They moved on. Yu Changhao had already set into motion. But Long Chen was surprised to see Shuiyu with his eyes closed. However, his third eye was open, seemed to be sensing something. Fuck it, although my luck's bad, if I don't do anything, even being lucky wouldn't have any use. Long Chen cursed inside and rushed toward the peak of the mountain. There were slightly fewer people there. Near the peak, there were fewer coffins, so there were also fewer people. Long Chen randomly picked a coffin. Feeling its powerful defenses, he knew this one hadn't been opened. Long Chen personally experienced just how heavy the lid was as he pushed. However, it still wasn't enough for him to use the divine ring. It popped open slightly. As it slowly opened, the light within it erupted. Immortal spiritual qi came from within. He knew this spiritual qi had been purified by the coffin's formation to nourish the weapon. This spiritual qi had been accumulating for countless years now. But before Long Chen could really feel this special spiritual qi, it disappeared as if it had been devoured. Good stuff. This is something I need, said the Eastern Wasteland Belle with a pleasantly surprised tone. Senior, how about we work together? Long Chen's eyes suddenly brightened. Little fellow, what evil idea are you thinking of now? Let me warn you, I owe you a single favor, so I can only help you once. That way, the karma between us will be resolved. Don't get any crazy ideas involving me. I refuse to be affected by karma, warned the Eastern Wasteland Belle. Long Chen laughed mischievously, having already expected this response. Although he didn't know what exactly this so-called karma was or why the Eastern Wasteland Belle was so worried about it, he had his own plans. Senior, just think about it. I can open the coffins, and because of my work, you're absorbing such pure spiritual qi to nourish yourself. You keep saying you're afraid of karma, but it's because of my work that you're getting benefits. That isn't in accordance with the heavenly Taos. Reaping without sowing isn't acceptable, so you'll still be affected by karma like that. That's not karma I'm trying to give you, but karma you're infecting yourself with, said Long Chen. Now that you put it like this, that really does make sense, said the Eastern Wasteland Belle. So I think it's better if we work together to get what we both want based on the principles of equality. Then neither of us will be affected by karma, said Long Chen. The Eastern Wasteland Belle was silent for a while. It obviously wasn't so easily fooled. But in the end, it wasn't able to find anything wrong with Long Chen's words. It would only make sense if it helped to get what it needed. That would be the only way to not invoke karma. All right, you open the coffins and I'll take out what's inside. But pay attention to safety. I'm only in charge of taking away what's inside, and in order to not let the heavenly Tao sense me, I won't help you out if any difficulties arise because of this. Unless you're on the verge of death, I won't do anything, warned the Eastern Wasteland Belle. Even though it had agreed to cooperate, it was still cautious. Good, then I definitely won't disappoint you. Long Chen was delighted and he hastily continued pushing that stone coffin. Once the opening was half a foot wide, an imperceptible fluctuation stretched into the coffin and then disappeared. Even Long Chen didn't get a chance to see what had been inside. Suddenly, a spear appeared in Long Chen's spiritual space. It was pitch black and emitted a powerful pressure that would make people's hearts shiver. This is a treasure item. Through the formation, it's been nourished for countless years, increasing its power by a great deal. It can count as a high-grade treasure item, said the Eastern Wasteland Bell. Long Chen was delighted to obtain a treasure item this quickly. He directly went to 4 other coffins. But they were all empty, and no spiritual qi was emitted from inside. On his 5th try, he encountered a coffin that hadn't been opened yet. When he slowly opened it, he saw a rabbit inside. Top-grade pill? Long Chen was startled. This pill was a foot tall and looked just like a rabbit. But as an alchemist, he smelled the specific scent of a medicinal pill. Most medicinal pills circulating throughout this world were split into low, middle, and high grade. 4 high-grade pills, each extra pill ring greatly increased the medicinal effect. But above high-grade pills were top-grade pills. The easiest way to distinguish a top-grade pill was that they could transform. Top-grade pills had their own special spirituality. Once they formed, they would draw pill lightning tribulation, just like a human cultivator's tribulation. Pills that went through such tribulation would have even greater spirituality. Different pills refined by different people would all transform into different shapes. Some would transform into creatures, some would transform into plants. Long Chen had only just gotten a glance at the rabbit when it disappeared. When it reappeared, it was in his spiritual space. That rabbit had already become a jade-like pill. There was an image of a small rabbit moving on top of it, looking as if it were alive. Amazing, a top-grade dragon tiger heavenly explosion pill. Long Chen was startled. This was a kind of self-destructive medicinal pill. Once a sea expansion expert consumed it, if they didn't immediately explode, they would be able to release over 10 times the power. The main ingredients of this pill were the evil dragon's blood and the berserk white lion's tiger's niden. They both contained extremely berserk energy, and even an innate rank 3 celestial would immediately explode if they tried consuming it in the sea expansion realm. There was no way they could bear that powerful medicinal energy. Furthermore, after so many years of nourishing, this pill's energy had almost reached perfection. Its power was even more terrifying than a normal one. Long Chen hastily found a jade case to store it in. An evil dragon was something he had heard of, but it had long since gone extinct in this world. This pill was perhaps one of the last of its kind, and it was extremely valuable. Once he put away the pill, Long Chen decided to directly spread his divine sense to all the coffins around him. Fool, do you not want your life? The coffins have formation runes that will injure you if you try to probe them with spiritual strength, scolded the Eastern Wasteland Bell. Originally, it had felt that Long Chen was a mature and steady person. But as soon as he obtained 2 treasures, he became perturbed. Hee, don't worry, senior, I'm not so foolish. I don't need to extend my divine sense into the coffins. Just from the outside, I can tell if the coffins have been opened before or not, laughed Long Chen. How could he be so stupid as to stretch his divine sense into such terrifying coffins? His divine sense didn't go into them. Instead, he was circulating the 9-star Hegemon body art to sense danger. The empty coffins did not have any defenses, so he naturally wouldn't sense any danger from them. But those coffins from which he could sense some slight danger were very likely ones that had never been opened. The facts proved that the 9-star Hegemon body art would never disappoint him. He opened 3 coffins in a row, and none of them had been opened before. Long Chen obtained a ring, a soft armor, and a sword from them. The ring was a storage tool, but it wasn't a spatial storage tool. It stored energy, and once activated, it could release a shocking and instantaneous attack. He obtained 5 treasures in a row, causing him to feel like flowers were blooming in his heart. This was his first time feeling like his luck wasn't so bad. He even felt like his luck really had taken a turn for the better. The other experts were also doing their best to open coffins. What these people didn't know was that originally, one person could only open one coffin. Once the treasure was taken out, The coffin's runes would transform into a transportation formation and send them away. But Long Chen and the others hadn't entered through proper channels. It was only by chance that they had destroyed the core formation that had controlled everything. All those transportation formations had lost effect now, allowing them to crazily search for treasures. Rather than saying Long Chen's luck was good, he should have given Yu Changhao the credit. It was he who had managed to open this treasure house for everyone through sheer chance. Long Chen, we should act low-key. We're going too fast and drawing too much attention. Be careful of other people's greed, warned the Eastern Wasteland Bell. For others, fully opening the coffin took 2 incense sticks worth of time. Only then would it not immediately close. Once the treasures were taken, the coffins would slowly close. Right now, people had only just finished taking their first treasure, but Long Chen was on his 7th. Although Long Chen was only opening the coffins slightly, while the Eastern Wasteland Bell took the treasures and absorbed the spiritual qi, others were unable to see that. Thus, quite a few people found this strange. Each time, Long Chen would spend over 10 breaths pushing open the coffin by just a crack. Then he would run to the next. That action was too strange. It's fine. Don't you see me shaking my head every time? That's to mislead them into thinking that whatever inside was garbage and didn't satisfy me, so I'm not wasting time. Let's continue. Time is treasure and we can't waste any. Long Chen continued working. After going through another 2 coffins, Yu Shaoqian arrived next to him. Shaoqian, how was it? Did you get anything? Or did that crazy woman trick you? Asked Long Chen. Yu Shaoqian was full of delight. She didn't trick me. This is extremely important to my entire race. I'm extremely grateful to her. No, don't be grateful. Next time, she'll probably want to cut off our heads. Quick, help me out. Let me tell you what to do. Long Chen wanted her to open the coffins he pointed out, while he opened his own. In front of her startled eyes, the treasure inside the coffin disappeared. She didn't even know what to say. With Yu Shaoqian helping, their efficiency doubled. In less than 2 hours, they had obtained over 100 treasures. Just as Long Chen was working rapidly, a terrifying and evil aura erupted. Long Chen was startled and hastily turned to look. At the foot of a mountain, an open coffin was releasing an evil aura. Black light soared into the clouds. Shui Yu was behind that coffin, filled with excitement. Several corrupt experts were guarding him, not letting others do anything to him. It's actually a corrupt weapon. Long Chen was startled. That aura was too evil, and it gave him a bad feeling. Suddenly, a bone claw flew out of the coffin and floated in the air. It was pitch black, and that evil aura grew stronger, as if a bloodthirsty fiend had been released. Not good. That's an evil dragon's claw. Such a weapon is extremely rare. Rumor is that evil dragons were expelled from the dragon race due to their sinister and brutal tendencies. As for the life forms related to dragons in the outside world, the legend is that they are nonsense caused by the evil dragons. They constantly mated with various life forms, creating all kinds of hybrids with the bloodline of the dragon race. Although that kind of bloodline was very low grade, because they are related to dragons, it was said that their mating caused endless trouble in ancient times. They ended up infuriating experts, and they were hunted down. From then on, evil dragons went almost extinct, but these are just stories and no one can be sure. However, even if they were killed down to the last, those hybrids created because of them continued to mate, and there was no way to kill them all. That evil dragon claw has such a powerful aura, so it shouldn't be from a hybrid. It should be from a true, pure-blooded evil dragon, said Yu Shaoqian. At this time, that dragon claw flew into the air, seeming to want to fly away on its own. But it was blocked by what appeared to be countless formations. As for Shui Yu, he opened his third eye, and a ray of black light enveloped the bone claw. He seemed to be trying to communicate with it. Long Chen, he's your enemy. You should stop him, or he'll obtain a powerful weapon, prodded Yu Shaoqian. Long Chen shook his head. That fellow isn't an idiot. He has so many guards, and over 7 of them are rank 3 celestials. Furthermore, they're holding tiles. Those are clearly tiles to worship their dead ancestors. They should have long since prepared a formation. The reason why they only opened the coffin after this long was because they were making those preparations. Even if we went over, we probably won't be able to break through their defenses. Instead, we'd be jumping into their trap. Only now did Yu Shaoqian notice the tiles in their hands. Those weren't any nonsense tiles for their dead ancestors like he said, but formation tiles. Furthermore, they seemed to be extremely high level and required several people to activate at the same time. Its power had to be great. Although Long Chen was normally a scoundrel without a proper thought in his head, and he could even be unbearably crude, Yu Shaoqian had to admire that he could see through their trap with a single glance. Ignore them. Let's continue working to get as many treasures as possible. We're in a race against time, said Long Chen. He began flipping through coffins again, and Yu Shaoqian learned from his example. She could also accurately find the coffins that contained treasures. As long as they opened the slightest crack in a coffin, the Eastern Wasteland Belle would be able to take out what was inside. The two of them worked rapidly, like two thieves trying to gather all the treasures before running. Quite a few people found this odd, thinking they had to be stupid. Even after that many coffins, they hadn't found any treasures they wanted. In the beginning, most of them thought Long Chen's luck was bad, and he didn't know how to pick good coffins. Perhaps he was getting empty ones every time. But then they saw that when he opened the coffins, a burst of light would erupt. That clearly showed that there were treasures in those coffins. But he just opened them a bit before leaving. So then people assumed he was looking for a specific treasure. After all, completely opening a coffin took a great deal of time, but just checking one merely took a few breaths of time. People sneered inside, thinking that his greed would cause him to obtain nothing in the end. Looking at them rapidly flipping through coffins, their gazes were full of ridicule. Yu Changhao had now opened his third coffin. Unlike Shuiyu, he relied purely on luck. On the third coffin, he found an amazing treasure. When he opened the coffin, golden light erupted and no one was able to see what was inside. His runes lit up with a blinding light, and he spread his wings. A powerful pressure descended, locking onto the treasure and trying to put it away. Treasure items had their own item spirits, and item spirits had their own wills. If someone weak wanted to subdue them, they would struggle and try to escape at the first moment. Ordinary treasure items didn't have intelligent item spirits. But the stronger the treasure item, the smarter the item spirit and the more they wouldn't want to be restrained by someone else. So the treasure item Yu Changhao had found had to be an incredibly powerful one. The disturbance brought endless envy from others, but no one dared to do anything to him. On one end, Shuiyu was trying to communicate with the evil dragon Bone Claw, while here, Yu Changhao was trying to subdue this treasure item. But to subdue such a treasure was extremely difficult. After all, treasure items were for foundation forging experts. They were just at the peak of Xiantian. Yu Changhao and Shuiyu had found their own targets, while others were all doing their best to find such powerful existences as well. Some people had found 2 treasure items already, but the treasure items they found were only of ordinary quality. Even after going through the nourishing of the coffins, their item spirits weren't very intelligent. The innate quality of the treasure items had to have restricted their growth. Some people felt like they finally understood why Long Chen was choosing to go through so many coffins. He was clearly looking for the strongest possible treasure item. Opening coffins took time, and wanting to subdue a powerful treasure item also took a great deal of time and energy. Now everyone came to a sudden comprehension and began searching for stronger treasure items. Boom! Suddenly, a rank 3 celestial found a sickle in the coffin. As soon as the coffin opened, the sickle tried to escape. The rank 3 celestial grabbed it and refused to let go. As a result, the sickle's runes lit up and its power directly blew the rank 3 celestial to bits. The experts weaker than that rank 3 celestial all felt a chill. If they wanted a powerful treasure, they had to have corresponding power. Otherwise, they would be the same as that person. Just after that person perished, another person was killed by a blood-colored spear he had been trying to subdue. As a result, that spear killed him and transformed into a ray of light that flew away. It was so fast that no one else had time to try and stop it. 2 experts died just like that, and 2 treasure items flew away. Everyone awoke from their greed. Before you could think about getting a treasure, you had to make sure you could keep your life. Some experts even became too afraid to test their luck on their own. They formed small groups so that they could have a greater chance of keeping a treasure. As a result, righteous experts sought out fellow righteous experts, corrupt experts sought out corrupt experts, and ancient race experts sought out ancient race experts. Everyone found their companions, as otherwise, it would be too dangerous. After forming their temporary alliances, they began a search for stronger treasure items. Once they found one, they would work together to suppress it, and it would go to the first person who had noticed it. As for the person that found the treasure, they had to work with the others afterward and could no longer search for their own. The ancient race experts and corrupt experts simply formed a vocal agreement. But the righteous experts required extremely vicious poison oaths before they began working together. That made the ancient race experts and corrupt experts sneer disdainfully. Of the 700 experts, close to half of them were from the ancient races. They were the strongest group here. Not only did they have the numbers advantage, but they also had 8 innate rank 3 celestials and over 20 ordinary rank 3 celestials. As for the remaining experts, although the righteous experts outnumbered the corrupt experts, they were clearly inferior when it came to quality. Other than a peak expert like Shuiyu, the corrupt path also had 4 innate rank 3 celestials and 7 ordinary rank 3 celestials. The righteous path was comprised primarily of rank 2 celestials and a dozen rank 1 celestials. It was unknown how they had lived to get so deeply into the immemorial path. The righteous path didn't even have a single innate rank 3 celestial on their side. They only had 2 ordinary rank 3 celestials. In the others' eyes, they were just a flock of sheep. As for Long Chen, he truly was powerful. Perhaps he would stand on the side of the righteous path, but so what? Yu Changhao had previously released one of his core attacks, and Long Chen hadn't dared to receive it. That meant he was afraid. They were clear that once the time came, they would kill all these idiots with their loud oaths. Long Chen ignored them. He never worried about anything that wasn't his business. If he didn't properly use the Eastern Wasteland Bell while he could, he wouldn't be Long Chen. With Yu Xiaoqian's help, he obtained a treasure every few breaths. He didn't care what level these treasures had. In front of the Eastern Wasteland Bell, they were nothing. No matter how amazing the treasure items were, they were little kids in front of the Eastern Wasteland Bell. They didn't even dare to bare their fangs. Treasure items were handed into his spiritual space one by one, and they had already piled into a small mountain. There were over 200 of them. Furthermore, there were quite a few amazing existences amongst them. They had powerful fluctuations, but in front of the Eastern Wasteland Bell, they didn't dare to do anything. Otherwise, Long Chen didn't know how much effort it would take to suppress them all. The hours passed one by one. After 6 hours, Long Chen had obtained over 500 treasures. Suddenly, a terrifying fluctuation disappeared. Ha! Wild laughter rang out from Yu Changhao's mouth. A golden armor appeared on his body, covering him entirely. Yu Changhao seemed to have been plated in gold. What he had obtained was a golden battle armor, and an extremely powerful one at that. He appeared incredibly domineering and imposing now, practically like a golden battle god. His gaze suddenly turned to Shuiyu. He saw that Shuiyu was still in the midst of trying to connect with his treasure. He had an urge to interrupt him, but he still gave up on it in the end. That evil dragon bone claw was a powerful treasure. Anything that came from a dragon's body was a natural treasure. Perhaps that claw was at an even higher level than his armor. However, Shuiyu was part of the corrupt path. Although the ancient races were always neutral, as long as no one came to provoke him, he couldn't attack the corrupt path. He snorted. Although he was a bit unwilling, he gave up any thoughts of attacking Shuiyu. His gaze roved around the mountain until he saw the distant Long Chen. Long Chen, just wait? Yu Changhao sneered inside. He hesitated for a moment and then decided not to attack Long Chen for now. Instead, he began searching for more coffins. Finding more treasures was more important right now. With this golden armor, His defensive strength had risen greatly. Furthermore, at this time, he still wasn't able to activate its true power. Once he reached C expansion, his defense would rise to a truly shocking level. So Yu Changhao might want to immediately kill Long Chen, but he also knew Long Chen wasn't so easy to handle. If they fought at full strength, it would waste this opportunity to obtain more treasures. This opportunity was extremely rare. If he didn't seize the moment, missing out on even stronger treasures just to kill Long Chen, it would be a loss. Long Chen didn't glance toward Yu Changhao, but he was on constant guard against him. Only once he saw him go to another coffin did he relax. He was obtaining 100 treasures an hour. How could he have time to fight him? After another 4 hours, people gradually found that the number of open coffins was declining. They began to expand their search range. Everyone was extremely excited. They had at least obtained 1 treasure item, and some had obtained up to 4. The righteous paths rank 1 celestials that had obtained a treasure item directly left rather than continuing. They were very smart. If they had too many treasure items, then with their power, there was no way they could leave this place alive. Even if the corrupt experts and ancient race experts didn't do anything, the other righteous experts would. The treasure items they had obtained couldn't be counted as good, but they also weren't bad. However, they wouldn't draw other people's envy, so hastily slipping away was the right decision. As for those that had stayed, they were all rank 2 celestials at least. Although those rank 2 celestials couldn't defeat a rank 3 celestial, they were rather prideful, thinking that even if they couldn't defeat one, they would still be able to escape. Bastard, how is this possible? Long Chen just opened this coffin, and I clearly saw the light of a treasure come from inside. There should definitely be a treasure. Suddenly, one of the ancient race experts roared furiously. Because he hadn't been able to find any other coffins, he had suddenly thought about checking one of the ones that Long Chen had gone through. Just because it was something Long Chen looked down on didn't mean it couldn't be useful to him. What? You also didn't find anything? I've gone through 7 of the coffins Long Chen has gone through, but there was nothing inside. Shouted another ancient rank expert. Long Chen cursed inside. He had finally been noticed. Looking at those furious ancient race experts, he was so angry that he had an urge to wring their necks. Their shouting caused everyone to stop and look at Long Chen with shock. This bastard definitely has a secret art that allows him to extract the treasures inside without completely opening the coffins, roared one of the ancient race experts. A greedy light appeared in his eyes. If he was correct, then even if half the coffins Long Chen had gone through had been empty, the number of treasures he had obtained had to be over 100. Thinking of 100 treasure items, everyone's eyes turned red. Kill Long Chen and take his treasure items? A powerful rank 3 celestial from the ancient races roared and took the initiative. Although he wasn't an innate rank 3 celestial, his aura was like the sea. His spear stabbed toward Long Chen like a poisonous dragon. This attack contained a terrifying power that caused the world to rumble. He was an extremely conceited expert, but he also had the power to be conceited. This attack was truly terrifying, and it sealed off all of Long Chen's escape paths. Following him, the other ancient race experts also attacked. Previously, they had all seen him fight Yu Changhao. Although he was powerful, for the unknown treasure items he had on him, they chose to go all out to kill him. That was because once Yu Changhao decided to join in, those treasure items would all go to him. Xiaoqian, you continue flipping through the coffins while they're distracted. I'll handle them, said Long Chen, stopping her from attacking. He alone was enough. The Eastern Wasteland Bell had said that as long as Long Chen remained on this mountain, it would be able to take the treasures in whatever coffin Yu Xiaoqian opened. Then let's see just who will be killing who, laughed Long Chen. A broadsword appeared in his hands, and he directly attacked the first expert to charge at him. His sword slashed down on his spear. Boom. The ancient race expert was forced back by Long Chen. At this moment, Long Chen became covered by thunder force, and he appeared in front of him again like he had teleported. He was too fast. With his lightning body blink, especially at such a close distance, that person didn't even have a chance to react. Long Chen's sword cut straight through his head, and it exploded like a melon. This attack had contained his thunder force, and it had destroyed his soul along with his body. There wasn't the slightest chance of him escaping. Split the heavens. After killing one, Long Chen didn't hesitate. His broadsword pointed toward the sky, and a huge sword image appeared. It slashed down on the experts charging at him. Everything happened too quickly. Long Chen's attack was almost instantaneous and incredibly powerful. Although the ancient race experts immediately went to block, quite a few people were still struck. Several of the ancient race experts instantly exploded. Even in death, they couldn't comprehend how Long Chen could instantaneously release such a powerful move. Over 10 of them were killed in an instant. Even their hasty defenses were unable to block Long Chen's power. Currently, Long Chen was no longer holding back. He was prepared to undergo a slaughter. These ancient races were too arrogant, and since they wanted to kill him, he definitely wouldn't be merciful. Only 4 of the attackers managed to survive his attack. Those 4 were all innate rank 3 celestials. Although his attack had come suddenly, with their immense power, they had managed to blunt the impact of his attack. But they were still filled with a lingering fear. Without accumulating any power, Long Chen was capable of releasing such a terrifying attack. This had already surpassed the scope of their understanding. Long Chen swung his broadsword, resting it on his shoulder. His body was covered in flowing lightning. You want to kill me? I'll welcome you at any time. As long as you feel like your throat is hard enough, come as you please. All of you get out of the way. Let me kill this arrogant fellow. Yu Changhao flapped his wings and flew toward Long Chen. Runes circulated on his wings, summoning a sharp light that suddenly shot toward Long Chen. It was actually the same move as before. Arrogant? This counts as arrogant? I'll show you what real arrogance is. Long Chen sneered, his aura circulating. His black robes began to float without any wind. His primal chaos bead circulated and the power of his 4 stars erupted. His broadsword slashed down, releasing a ray of sword chi. Boom! A raging chi wave erupted. What? Everyone was shocked to see Yu Changhao's terrifying attack be shattered by Long Chen's sword. What was going on? Previously, Long Chen clearly hadn't dared to receive that attack. But now he easily broke it? Was this supposed to mean that Long Chen had been holding back before? Where are you looking, idiot? Yu Changhao couldn't believe his eyes. One of his core attacks had been destroyed with just brute force. Just as he was stunned, a hand viciously slapped across his face. By the time he reacted, he was struck. Yu Changhao shot back like a shooting star in front of everyone. He slammed into the ground, forming a huge crater. Even the surrounding coffins were buried. Disobedient son of a bitch, does being slapped feel extremely comfortable to you? Sneered Long Chen, swinging his hand. Long Chen was definitely hiding his power. How sinister. This was what most people were thinking. In truth, Long Chen truly had been concealing his power. When he had fought against Yu Changhao previously, that formation might have stopped his magical arts, but it didn't stop his 9-star Hegemen body art. It was just that Long Chen didn't want to become everyone's target so early. Enduring for a bit to make a fortune was the way of the king. But halfway through his fortune, he had been noticed by others. Now there was no point in enduring any longer. He immediately released the power of the 8th star transformation and 12th heaven stage. Suddenly, the ground exploded and a pillar of light soared into the sky. Yu Changhao appeared, a huge illusory figure behind him. A golden rune lit up on his forehead, and a terrifying pressure came from him, one that caused the space around him to twist. Long Chen Dai. Yu Changhao's wings suddenly pointed to the sky. Everyone was horrified to see the void tear. Yu Changhao's furious roar shook the sky. He was surrounded by a sea of 3-colored runes. His aura was sacred and powerful, filled with a murderous air. He had clearly already gone berserk. Following his roar, heaven and earth shuddered. This was an incomparable pressure. Everyone looked at Yu Changhao with horror. He seemed like a furious devil. His wings folded and pointed toward the sky. All his runes were absorbed by his wings. In that instant, even the void was torn apart, appalling everyone. When his wings once more opened, his entire body had light circulating around it. His aura caused rank 2 celestials to quiver in terror. In front of his pressure, they felt that even breathing was difficult. Longchen, you've infuriated me. Now death will be an extremely luxurious thing for you. I won't let you die so easily. You despicable, inferior human, I'll let you see the price for humiliating the sacred ancient races. Blood Feather Divine Slash. One of Yu Changhao's wings rose and then slashed down. In that instant, the runes on his feathers all circulated and the aura of a grand Tao appeared. This was a terrifying attack. Those runes on Yu Changhao's wings were the roots of his divine abilities. Thanks to them, his wings could even be described as innate treasure items, allowing each one of his attacks to kill a rank 3 celestial easily. All the rank 2 celestials were pale as paper now. This attack wasn't even coming toward them, but just the pressure from it was unendurable. They felt like their bodies were being torn apart. They were all horrified. No longer bothering with finding treasure items any longer. They all fled. They were afraid just the slightest shockwave could kill them. If that happened, then those treasures they had found would all be wasted. You idiot. Did you think that just because you have some ability you can challenge Lord Yu Changhao? You really are a frog at the bottom of a well. Now you've done it, sneered an ancient race expert, filled with delight. That's right, the human race is just a bunch of idiots. Lord Yu Changhao is an unrivaled hero whose power shakes the heavens. Longchen, you underestimated him, said another ancient race expert. In truth, the ancient races all looked down on the human race. The righteous expert's expressions sank. This was too much. This was essentially cursing them right in the nose. It had to be known that the corrupt paths experts no longer truly considered themselves part of the human race. They considered themselves to be the children of the corrupt god. They were the descendants of their god. Although they were in human form, there was a clear line between them and the human race. And so the ancient races cursing only affected the righteous paths experts. But although the righteous experts were furious, they didn't retort. The ancient races were just too powerful, and they could only swallow their anger. In their hearts, they hoped for Longchen to fight for some dignity for the human race. When it comes to inferiority, who could compare to your ancient races? A group of hybrids birthed from humans and beasts? Is this how you speak to your ancestors? Then today, your ancestor will properly teach you a lesson on how to talk to your ancestors. Longchen's divine ring began to circulate, and a majestic aura soared into the clouds. Longchen's pressure began to surge. His Enlightenment Palace star had already reached the 8th star transformation, and during this time, he had never stopped taking his medicine. There were already signs of the Enlightenment Palace star approaching the 9th star transformation. Although there was still a ways to go, each medicinal pill could still increase his strength the slightest bit. Now that Longchen was releasing his full power, his pressure caused the world to quiver. It was even grander, even more imposing than what Yu Changhao had caused. Those sneering ancient race experts tightly shut their mouths. Now that Longchen's aura had erupted to this level, it was like a vicious slap in their faces. And it was an extremely resounding slap. Senior apprentice brother Longchen truly is worthy of being one of our righteous paths experts. He, properly teach these ancient races experts the power of our righteous path. The righteous experts were incomparably excited. Previously, they hadn't dared to respond to the ancient race's insults. Now they tightly clenched their fists. Good, you really have some ability. That's the only way this will be interesting. If you died in just one move, it would be too boring. A sinister smile appeared on Yu Changhao's face. The runes on his wings began to glow even more brightly. He had clearly still been holding back before, afraid to kill Longchen with one move and let him off too easy. Now that Longchen's aura had erupted, he could let loose. Your posing arts are still lacking. If your skills don't match, you'll just end up being a dumbass. Today, I'll let you know trying to pose without any power will come at a price. Boom. Longchen's broadsword suddenly slashed down with a space-tearing sound. A huge sword image mercilessly tore through heaven and earth to go toward Yu Changhao. It was the first form of Split the Heavens, but this attack was many times more terrifying than his previous one. An ear-piercing rumbling came from it. His attack collided with Yu Changhao's attack. The mountain shook and countless coffins were directly blown into the air before crashing back down. Qi waves erupted, and many of the experts that had fled into the distance were still sent flying, vomiting blood. They had still underestimated their power. Fortunately, they had retreated far enough, otherwise, just this shockwave would have killed them. They now fled even further. Some even fled to the back of the mountain, feeling like it would be safer. Only Yu Shaoqian was continuously opening coffins while keeping an eye on Long Chen. As long as she opened the coffin slightly, the treasure inside it would disappear. Although she didn't know exactly what was going on, she had no time to ask. But she could guess that Long Chen had some method to take in the treasures even from a distance. These treasures were extremely important to Long Chen, so Yu Shaoqian did her best to open as many as possible. Long Chen and Yu Changhao suddenly appeared in the air after the collision of their attacks. Their wings shook, and they furiously charged at each other. Only now did everyone realize how terrifying Yu Changhao was. His hands, feet, and wings were all powerful offensive weapons. His wings were especially powerful, practically two unrivaled treasure items. When they collided with Long Chen's broadsword, sparks flew and a metallic ringing came from them. Explosive sounds continuously rang out in the air. Long Chen's broadsword continuously danced in the air, and his movements were a bit messy in the face of Yu Changhao's 6 limbs. This attack frequency was something he hadn't dealt with before. Although Yu Changhao was his enemy, Long Chen had to admit that he was extremely powerful. This strange close-range fighting ability was impressive. His wings were especially difficult to deal with. Each one of his attacks could cause mountains to collapse. If Long Chen's broadsword wasn't strong enough, there would have been no way to keep up with him. Hee, Long Chen, do you only have this little ability? You've really disappointed me. Just as Yu Changhao was talking, his movements naturally slowed down the slightest bit. Long Chen slapped him across the face. Who let you pose? Your face really is thick. My hand even hurts from slapping it. You don't even have the brains to learn your lesson. Sneered Long Chen. His face-slapping technique had already reached a divine level. But Long Chen also felt helpless that this kind of attack couldn't kill people. Once this slap contained killing intent or accumulated energy, well, these people were all experts, so they would immediately sense it. Then he wouldn't be able to strike anyone with it. If it was just a random blow that didn't contain any killing intent, then at close range, the chance of it striking was almost 100%. But its only effect was at best to humiliate his opponent. It didn't pose any offensive power. Although his attack didn't contain any offensive power, that was just talking about the physical body. It possessed immense offensive power when it came to the mind. Yu Changhao's eyes turned scarlet. He had already forgotten how many times he had been slapped in the face by Long Chen. If he couldn't kill Long Chen, he would become the laughingstock of the cultivation world. And even if he killed Long Chen, the fact that he had been slapped would become a stain he would never be able to wash off. Long Chen suddenly gripped his broadsword with both hands and viciously slashed it down on Yu Changhao's wing. This attack contained his full power. His sword landed slightly higher than the middle part of the wing, the spot that was most likely to cause Yu Changhao to lose his balance. This was an attack Long Chen had been planning for a while. Yu Changhao's close-range ability came from the fact that he could unleash a tempest of attacks from strange angles. That was also why Yu Changhao had dared to challenge Leng Yueyan, who was famed for being unrivaled in close-range combat. But no matter how powerful the move, there would always be an opening. Long Chen hadn't been used to it in the beginning, but after getting accustomed to his attack frequency, he had found that opening. Long Chen's attack landed on his wing, and at the same time, he slashed diagonally. Yu Changhao's own movements were too fast, and his left wing came attacking just as his right wing was struck. But Long Chen's force was being applied diagonally, causing Yu Changhao to lose his balance. His wing shot past Long Chen's head. The most startling thing to Yu Changhao was that his body involuntarily began to spin through the air. His but ended up facing Long Chen. 1,000 years of death. Long Chen's broadsword stabbed forward with a whistling wind straight toward Yu Changhao's butt. Just as Yu Changhao was spinning through the air, he had an extremely bad feeling. He instantly spread his wings and shot forward. At the same time, his golden armor completely covered his body. Regretfully, Yu Changhao still wasn't as fast as Long Chen. Long Chen's broadsword stabbed right into Yu Changhao's butt. The cringing sound of bones breaking rang out. Ah! A heart-rending cry resounded throughout the air. Through that miserable shriek, it was possible for everyone to feel the unbearable pain the person must be going through. Although Yu Changhao had activated his golden armor to protect himself, he had only just put it on for an instant. It hadn't been able to fully release its power, and so it had only blocked a portion of Long Chen's attack. Long Chen's attack had stabbed right into Yu Changhao's tailbone. There was a dense gathering of nerves there. Yu Changhao was a peak expert. Even if he died, he wouldn't let out such a miserable shriek. It was too embarrassing. But now he was just in too much pain to hold back. It was instinct. Following his shriek, everyone felt a chill in their bones. They didn't have any thoughts of laughing. Instead, they felt profound sympathy for him. These people were all experts, and they were aware of what parts of the body could elicit the most pain. They felt a chill in their own tailbones. All their hair stood on end. Due to trying to avoid Long Chen's attack and failing, Yu Changhao shot into the mountain like a cannonball. The ground crumbled as a huge hole appeared. It failed? But that's also good. If this broadsword ended up contaminated with crap, it would be irritating to use, muttered Long Chen to himself. Suddenly, the ground began to quiver. The ground exploded and a figure soared into the sky. That figure was Yu Changhao. His eyes were completely red now, looking like they might spit flames. His fury had reached a peak. He even felt like he might explode. Pain, humiliation, and fury. All those negative emotions resounded within his mind. Just now, he had been in enough pain to want to die. Although his injury had recovered, that pain seemed to linger. Heaven-splitting wings. Yu Changhao roared and his wings opened. A vast aura erupted, one that caused the world to shake. Blinding golden light erupted. A pair of heaven-splitting wings appeared in the sky. Those wings were several miles long and seemed like two flying blades. But those flying blades were formed of golden runes. Divine light circulated. As soon as those wings appeared, the world became filled with the aura of death. Die! Yu Changhao formed hand seals, controlling the huge wings to attack Long Chen. They slashed toward him, and small black lines appeared in the sky where they passed. Heavens, the void is being torn apart, cried people. They finally understood how terrifying Yu Changhao was. Previously, Yu Changhao had been slapped an unknown number of times in the face by Long Chen. In the end, his butt had almost been completely destroyed. His status as a peak expert had greatly fallen in their hearts. But now that he released this attack, they realized just how terrifying he was. They also admired his restraint. He had held back such a trump card for this moment. This attack will determine the victor. It's one of the feather race's inherited divine abilities. Up until now, no one in the same realm had been able to receive this attack. Long Chen's definitely dead, said an ancient race expert. In truth, Yu Changhao hadn't been planning on using this kind of divine ability to kill Long Chen. This divine ability came at a price. It would exhaust the core runes in his blood. Right now, he was at the peak of Xiantian. He had to maintain the purity of his blood so that he could advance perfectly to see expansion. If he used too much of the energy of his core runes because he unleashed such huge moves, it would cause his bloodline quality to drop. If he couldn't restore it by the time the spiritual chi eruption occurred, he would miss that incredibly rare opportunity. That was unacceptable. So even though he had been humiliated before, he hadn't used this move. But now, he was truly unable to suppress his fury. All he wanted to do was kill Long Chen. To kill Long Chen, he didn't care what he had to do. Seeing those two huge golden wings slashing toward him like two divine blades, Long Chen's hair stood on end. This attack was definitely terrifying. If he wasn't careful, he could be killed. Long Chen took a deep breath. For stars appeared in his eyes, and he raised his broadsword. A huge sword image soared into the sky, and it possessed an imposing aura. It was like a god's blade that was filled with a will that desired to shatter the world. Split the heavens too! Long Chen shouted inside. His broadsword slashed toward the wings. Boom! The two forces crashed together. In that instant, the world seemed to become still. It was silent, but in the next instant, a huge explosive sound erupted. Heaven and earth trembled, and the coffins on the mountain were sent flying. Not good. Run! Ah! Miserable screams rang out along with the sound of bodies exploding. There were too many coffins at the peak of the mountain. They shot out like cannonballs, and many people were unable to dodge them. They were blown to bits. Half of this huge mountain collapsed from this attack. Even the formation here hadn't been able to stop it. Just as everyone was feeling appalled, a majestic aura erupted. That aura was full of evil. Haha, the corrupt dragon bone claw is mine. Long Chen, hand over your life. Shuiyu had been trying to subdue the corrupt dragon bone claw this entire time. He now laughed, his voice full of delight. His gaze landed on Long Chen in the air. At this time, Long Chen and Yu Changhao's hair was in disarray, and their auras were a bit unsteady. That exchange had been too intense. It had not only exhausted a great deal of their energy, but it had also caused a backlash that had injured them. Long Chen was shocked. He had underestimated Yu Changhao before. Just now, he had used his strongest move but had still gone even with him. It was obvious that if he had fought him when the immemorial path had just opened, he would have been killed. Now Shuiyu was holding a 3-foot-long bone claw and smiling sinisterly at him. He knew he was about to join in. If you want to fight, then come. When have I ever been afraid of anyone? Long Chen suddenly let out a burst of heaven-shaking laughter. The righteous experts, corrupt experts, and ancient race experts were all shocked. Now 2 peak experts were about to attack him, but he still didn't have the slightest intention of running. To fight 1 versus 2 against them, he was incredibly domineering. But there were also quite a few people who thought he was an idiot. He knew how to show off, but showing off now would come at a price. And that would be an extremely miserable price. I'll let you taste the power of my new weapon. Shuiyu laughed, and the bone claw in his hand shot straight toward Long Chen. On the way, it suddenly grew larger, becoming 300 meters long. Long Chen held his broadsword with both hands and slashed it on the bone claw. He also wanted to see just how strong this bone claw was. Boom! Long Chen's attack didn't even leave a mark on the bone claw. How hard! The bone claw was fine, but Long Chen felt a burst of pain in both of his arms. The bone claw was stopped by Long Chen. But then it suddenly began to close, wanting to crush Long Chen in its grasp. Its nimbleness was comparable to a human hand, startling Long Chen. The bone claw snapped shut. But Long Chen had already used the lightning body blink to escape. Although he had escaped, the ear-piercing sound from when the bone claw had snapped shut caused Long Chen to jump in fright. If he had been caught, then even if he didn't immediately die, his bones would have definitely been crushed. Long Chen, let's see just how you will run today. Once I put you away, I'll then handle Ling Yuan. With this evil dragon bone claw, I don't need to worry about her. Shuiyu was full of excitement. His laughter was also full of confidence. Brother Changhao, you don't need to have any misgivings. This bastard is extremely slippery. If we're not careful, he'll get away. How about we work together to kill him? Asked Shuiyu. Shuiyu knew Yu Changhao was powerful. With him present, Long Chen would find it difficult to flee. Shuiyu needed a helper like him, as his own speed wasn't a match for Long Chen's. Now he could have Long Chen killed, and furthermore, it would count as cooperating. Perhaps in the future, they would be able to cooperate once more when he handled Ling Yuan. Although he had the evil dragon bone claw, in truth, Shuiyu was still traumatized by Ling Yuan. Just the bone claw didn't give him 100% assurance, and so he wanted to form an alliance with Yu Changhao. Then his confidence would increase a bit. However, he had no thoughts of subduing Leng Yuan. In his eyes, Leng Yuan wasn't a woman. No, she wasn't even human. She was a fiend that might take his life at any moment. All right, let's work together to slaughter this brute. Yu Changhao no longer had any assurance of being able to kill Long Chen now that his strongest move had been blocked by him. He was too powerful, and his chances of killing Long Chen on his own were too low. Cooperating with Shui Yu was his best option. Ah, good. All corrupt experts, listen to my orders. Capture that woman. Once I kill Long Chen, I want to properly enjoy her. Shui Yu's orders caused the corrupt experts to smile wretchedly. They took out their weapons and charged toward the distant Yu Shaoqian. Righteous experts, those that want to be on my side, help me protect my friend, shouted Long Chen suddenly. This action of his caused Yu Changhao and Shui Yu to be stunned. Shui Yu suddenly laughed. I didn't expect you to actually ask a bunch of garbage for help. It seems that this woman must be quite important to you. I want that woman. Capture her alive. Long Chen's shout immediately placed the righteous experts in a difficult position. Long Chen could count as a righteous expert. But right now, he was facing Yu Changhao and Shui Yu. His death was practically set in stone. He wouldn't even have a chance to flee. They didn't want to end up dying because they helped him. However, out of the 200+ righteous experts present, there were more than 10 hot-blooded men who rushed over to Yu Shaoqian. In their eyes, no matter what, the righteous path should be one united family. But halfway there, they suddenly realized something was off. They saw the others weren't even moving. What are you doing? We're all part of the righteous path, and we should be united, roared one of the men. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen is part of our righteous path. We need his protection, but when he has difficulties, we also have to help. You're just going to sit back and watch. Those motionless righteous experts looked away, not daring to look at those people. But after being cursed repeatedly, one of them finally cursed back. Who are you cursing? Aren't you all just idiots? Long Chen wanted to show off, and as a result, he offended so many people. Why should we have to pay the bill for his own actions? You little fuckers, you're the idiots, raged one of the few men. Idiots, go and send yourselves to death. Since we're all part of the righteous path, don't worry, we'll make sure to bury your corpses. Following those people's cursing, the 10+ group ended up hesitating. Some of them actually returned amongst the rest of the righteous experts. In the end, only 3 people came to help Long Chen. You cowards, I curse your ancestors. You've lost all the face of the righteous path, cursed one of the 3. Those 3 ignored those uncaring bastards and came to Yu Shaoqian's side. They took out their weapons, prepared to fight to the death. Although they knew this action of theirs was impulsive, there was a voice that told them even if they had to die, they had to protect their pride. They couldn't become an unrivaled hero like Long Chen, but they could use their lives to prove the true reason they had begun cultivating. Seeing only 3 people go help, Long Chen didn't feel any disappointment. In fact, he smiled slightly. There were still some hot-blooded people in the righteous path. Kill! The corrupt experts charged toward Yu Shaoqian's group of 4. At the same time, Yu Changhao took out a golden bow. That was the true weapon of the feather race. Yu Changhao was always a conceited person. Others thought the feather race's strongest point was their archery skills, but when he fought with others, he practically never used archery. That was because he had always maintained an unrivaled record against experts in the same realm. But this record had first been broken when Leng Yuan had almost stabbed through his head, and then been broken by Long Chen's resounding consecutive face slaps. He finally took out his true weapon. Having taken out this bow, Yu Changhao was incredibly furious. This represented that he had lost to Long Chen in a close-range battle. Die! He pulled the bow. Countless runes condensed, absorbing heaven and earth's energy to form a huge golden arrow. The arrow shot out with a thunderous rumbling. Its light was dazzling and imposing. Boom! Long Chen swung his broadsword. A sword image slashed onto the arrow, destroying it. But Long Chen was startled as its power caused his arms to feel a bit numb. Seeing Yu Changhao once more pulling back his bow, Long Chen snorted. His wings flapped, and he activated the lightning body blink. He appeared right in front of Yu Changhao in practically an instant, his sword slashing down. He was incredibly quick, arriving in front of him before he could release his second arrow. His bow suddenly turned, and he actually used it to block his sword. A strange sound rang out. Long Chen felt a bizarre force knock him back. He was startled. Yu Changhao was actually skilled in long-range and close-range battle with a bow. Just as he was knocked back, a huge bone claw came toward him. Boom! He slashed his broadsword against Shui Yu's attack, relying on the rebound force to dodge Yu Changhao's second arrow. Long Chen pushed the lightning body blink to its max. He instantly arrived beside Shui Yu. Because the evil dragon bone claw had just been knocked away, Shui Yu couldn't use it to defend. Long Chen wanted to take advantage to kill Shui Yu right here. Of the three of them, Shui Yu was the weakest in close-range combat. To kill him, the best way was in close range. Seeing Long Chen suddenly appear beside him, Shui Yu's expression changed. He had personally experienced how dangerous Long Chen was at close range. But even if he wanted to retreat, it was too late. He didn't possess Long Chen's terrifying speed. He hastily blocked with his black sword. As a result, he was caught in a dangerous situation, and after barely managing to block 2 attacks, the third one almost slashed onto his shoulder, causing him to turn pale. If he was struck, then the power within Long Chen's broadsword would immediately erupt within his body. He didn't have a powerful physical body like Yu Changhao. "Brother Shui Yu, don't panic. I'll help." With Long Chen fighting Shui Yu at close range, Yu Changhao couldn't use his long-range attacks in case he hit the wrong person. He shot forward, using his bow as a weapon that stabbed toward Long Chen's heart. Long Chen took half a step back, not wanting to take Yu Changhao's bow head-on. That bow was strange and was able to rebound a person's power. With Yu Changhao's help, Shui Yu finally caught a breather. He once more sent the bone claw to attack Long Chen. The three of them fought an intense battle in the air. The corrupt disciples below had already arrived in front of Yu Xiaoqian's group of 4. The 4 of them defended with their lives. But those 3 were just ordinary rank 2 celestials. In front of this many experts, they were only able to miserably retreat. Fortunately, Yu Xiaoqian was helping them, which was the only reason they were still alive. Furthermore, the ones attacking them were only rank 2 celestials. The rank 3 celestials were at the back providing support. They all knew Shui Yu wanted to capture her alive. So they didn't dare to go too far and make her kill herself. This way, they would leave her the slightest hope, and once she was exhausted, they would pounce. The 4 of them were rapidly retreating. Suddenly, they found their backs against a formation and were unable to continue backing up. "Bastards, who set up this formation? Are you trying to capture us all?" Raged a righteous expert. Yu Xiaoqian smiled slightly and said, "The decision you made today makes me happy. You've saved yourselves." "What?" The 3 of them were startled. Before they understood what was happening, Shui Xiaoqian extended her hand. A soft force transmitted through their bodies, and they suddenly felt like space was twisting around them. They coughed up blood. But after that, they suddenly realized they were in that original room, looking at the mountain. The mountain had once more shrunk into a small hill in their eyes. "It's handled." Yu Xiaoqian suddenly waved at Long Chen. "Good, then go ahead and slaughter them," responded Long Chen. Long Chen's words had just rang out when Yu Xiaoqian's sword released thousands of rays of sword light. Sword chi ravaged the corrupt experts. "What?" The 3 righteous experts were all startled upon seeing that scene. Yu Xiaoqian was actually this terrifying? Ordinary rank 2 celestials were cut down like wheat in front of her. Did someone as powerful as her really need the 3 of them to protect her? I get it. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen was saving us. One of them suddenly slapped his leg. They suddenly realized why Long Chen had asked them to help her. In truth, Long Chen had been intent on saving whoever that helped. Because they had stood by him, he had asked Yu Xiaoqian to send them to safety outside the formation. In truth, he wanted to save everyone. He gave all the righteous experts a chance. But regretfully, they didn't grab it. One person shook his head. "Regret my ass. Fuck those idiots, they thought they could act aloof. They deserve to die. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen wanted to save us, and they cursed him for being a show-off? Fuck their mothers, cursed another more explosive fellow. Now that Yu Shaoqian was attacking, everyone jumped in shock. Those rank 3 celestials immediately pounced forward, realizing that they had been played. Cold moon slash. An elegant crescent moon appeared in the air. Following the movement of Yu Shaoqian's sword, that 30-meter moon turned into a beautiful ray of light that charged into their midst. One ordinary rank 3 celestial was killed despite blocking with a treasure item. That's a magical art, be careful, warned one person. Regretfully, it was too late. That crescent moon instantly killed over a dozen experts, 2 of them being rank 3 celestials. Bastard, what's going on? Raged Shuiyu. He had never expected Yu Shaoqian to be so terrifying. Yu Changhao shouted, "Ancient races, assist the corrupt path in killing that woman. Conveniently, you can slaughter those idiots who are just watching the fun." Hearing Yu Changhao's words, the righteous experts turned green with terror. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.